And it's 7 o'clock Eastern time, and that means that polls have now closed, and we are ready to begin another Tuesday night deep in the heart of primary season now. The theme tonight, though, is runoffs. We had the preliminaries in Georgia and in Alabama tonight. We get the runoffs to settle some major races, including this one right here. This is the Republican runoff for the United States Senate in Georgia. Whoever wins this tonight will go up against Democrat Jon Ossoff in November in what will be one of the most closely watched Senate races in the country. Also on the line in Georgia, where again, polls are now closed, and we do expect votes to start coming in here in a few minutes. The runoff on the Republican side for the race for governor. The winner there will face off against Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms. And then an hour from now, just across the border there on the western side of Georgia into Alabama, the runoff for the Republican nomination for the United States Senate there is going to be settled. In all three of these races, President Trump has made an endorsement. One of the things we're going to be following tonight, how does that Trump endorsement hold up? Some interesting dynamics there, including that Senate race, looking at right here, where Trump's endorsed Mike Collins and the Republican governor, Brian Kemp, has endorsed Derek Dooley. That Trump endorsement of Collins coming in at the last minute. Let me introduce, before the results start coming in fast and furious, the indispensable Adam Naboa, who has got Georgia on his mind.
This is our fourth Georgia race of this cycle with the Georgia 14 special election. So we're very well versed with Georgia at this point in the cycle.
Well, I think it's a good thing. If you're going to have a state that you keep coming back to in the primaries and special elections, it's good that it's one that's going to be huge in the general election and the presidential election, because it's good to sort of, this is also practice for us in a way for November, for 2028. Georgia's sort of one of the premier swing states in the country right now. So if you were watching this, was it the last time we did it? I'm getting my calendar confused. I think it was 3 weeks ago. Adam, check me, when we had Texas, the Texas runoff there, Cornyn, Paxton, and we were in this studio, and I started right back there, and I started to give my big, long-winded, and then we got Denton County, and it lit up, and Paxton had won it by 30, and that was like 4% of the vote in the entire state, and we knew 6 seconds in that night that Paxton had won the runoff, and the problem was it was a split poll closing state, so we had to wait an hour till the decision desk could call it, and a lot of you guys stuck with us, and we really appreciated that. Well, polls closed in Georgia. Same thing didn't happen. It didn't flip over just as fast, but it gives me a chance here to kind of set up the night, set up what we're looking at in Georgia, and set up some of the other places we're going to be looking tonight. So, again, the polls are closed. This thing could start lighting up quickly here. Georgia's one of those states where, any of that pre-election vote, that early vote that was cast, that gets reported out pretty quickly by these counties. So you'll start to see these light up in the next half hour or so, and there'll be pretty big chunks of votes in these counties. And then what will come in after that would be the same day vote, the election vote. Something to keep in mind that we saw in the primary, and that I think has been a theme throughout these Republican primaries that we've been covering, is there's that split's important. That early vote versus that same day vote in the Republican primaries, that same day vote, which comes in later, gets reported in later, tends to be the more Trump-friendly, the more MAGA-friendly. And that's very important to this race, where Trump has endorsed a candidate, Mike Collins, over Derek Dooley. And it's something we saw in the preliminary, too, here, where Collins was doing better. Didn't have the Trump endorsement then, but Collins was doing better with that sort of pro-Trump election day vote. So I would expect that to be a dynamic tonight, meaning that if Dooley's going to have any chance, and Dooley is the underdog coming into this, if he's going to have any chance, he needs to really be posting good numbers early, because it's probably going to be a little less favorable for him late. Let me remind you what it looked like here back in May when we had the preliminary. This is how we got to tonight. Collins finished first, and he was pretty well clear of Dooley. That was a 10-point margin. And the third place finisher here was Buddy Carter. And I do want to just show you this map. Again, I hate to leave the results page, but I want to show you this map only because just take a look. Oh, take a look right down here. That shade, that's Buddy Carter's maroon. That's his congressional district, the first congressional district of Georgia, based in Savannah along the Atlantic coast and inland from there. Carter won that by a huge margin, meaning that's sort of the biggest single source of up-for-grabs voters here. Are those Carter voters going for Collins? Are they going for Dooley? Are they staying home? One thing I could tell you is if you look through these counties here, just give you a sense of what it looked like, Carter won it big. Collins was a clear second, and Dooley tended to be, I'm just giving you a random sample here, but look at that. That Dooley number was barely out of single digits. Collins, meanwhile, was a pretty healthy second place in some of these. So Collins, you expect, would have the leg up there. Again, that's where the most up for grabs voters are. Let me go back over here to the main screen, because again, I don't want to miss any results. But that's one thing we're going to be looking at tonight here as these results come in. This is Buddy Carter, roughly. This is Buddy Carter's first congressional district. The other dynamic there in the preliminary, maybe you caught it on that map I just showed, Dooley's support was really concentrated right there in the Atlanta metro area. And that gets to, that's the sort of part of Georgia here in Republican politics where you get sort of the most, I don't know how to describe them, I would call them sort of Trump independent Republican voters. It's not that they're against Trump necessarily, but they're not necessarily swayed by a Trump endorsement. The evidence we have of this is, remember, Trump after 2020 when he lost Georgia, and he said the results were illegitimate, and Brian Kemp, the governor, didn't go along with him. Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, didn't go along with him on that. And Trump tried to take them out in Republican primaries in 2022, and it didn't work. They actually both won by very wide margins, but this is one of those areas where there was particular strength. The Atlanta metro area was where Trump, really had trouble getting Republicans to join him against Kemp and against Raffensperger. And this is where Dooley did very well in the primary in particular here. And remember, Dooley has Kemp's endorsement. So, what Dooley needs, obviously, is just huge numbers and huge turnout out of this Atlanta metro area. Not just the immediate Atlanta metro area, but kind of extending, put it this way, sort of the core Atlanta metro area here, talking about like Fulton County, Cobb County. Cobb's going to have the most votes probably of any county tonight. DeKalb County, Gwinnett County. That core Atlanta metro is probably going to account for about 25% of all the votes in this Republican runoff tonight. And then sort of the next rung there, more sort of the exurbs, the fast-growing new suburbs, or even like, giant Cherokee County, Forsyth County, probably another 20% or so going to come from there. So between these two, about 45% of the votes going to come out of that zone here in Georgia tonight. And that's really where Dooley has to be making it. He has to be running up the score there. He also has to find a way to make inroads across the rest of the state that kind of eluded him. He really had geographically concentrated support. Look, there are, we got our first result, and look where it is, right where we were talking about, and look what it is, right what we were talking about, Fulton County. So let's get right into this, and we'll go to the governor's race as soon as we finish up right here. But I want to just sort of set the scene here. So we've got, again, look at that, almost 20,000 votes reported out there all at once. So you're looking at early vote. You're looking at a county that's absolute, not just must win for Dooley. This must be a landslide for Dooley. And I'm going to just tell you how the night's going to work here in terms of we've set benchmarks, okay? And I want to explain the benchmark once, and hopefully it'll start to make sense. In the primary, if you just took the votes that were cast for Dooley in the first round and just took the votes that were cast for Collins, the share there, right, if you just took their votes, right, in Fulton County, which just lit up here, in the primary, okay, I just want to make sure I get this. I just want to make sure I get this right here. In the primary, Dooley got 58%, okay, of the Fulton County vote. In the two-way Dooley versus Collins vote, it was 58-42 in Fulton County, okay? Dooley needs to win Fulton County by more than that. Why? Because the statewide was 57-43 Collins in the two-way vote. It's a long way of saying that if you're Collins, okay, you have about 7 points of pad. Okay, you could drop 7 points or so in that two-way vote and still be okay in this, right? So Collins got 42 in Fulton County in the preliminary. We say he's got about 7 points of pad, so he could probably fall to about 35% in Fulton County. He'd be pushing his luck, but he could probably fall to 35. He's at 37.5 in this first update. So that's in the realm of what Dooley wants to see. However, remember what we said. We expect as that later vote comes in, holy cow, look what just happened. We suspect as that later vote comes in, it gets less Dooley friendly. So was that that's a good initial number for Dooley? He might have needed better than that. Let's see what else we got here. Working our way right through here. Forsyth County. Oh my gosh, we got a ton of vote here out of Forsyth County. We said again, this is a place where I don't know why I pulled that up. This is a place where Dooley needs to be winning big. Again, the number here, Collins' share in the preliminary was. Sorry about this. Collins' share in the preliminary was 53, right? Again, what we're going to be doing here is like we're going to give you Collins' share from the preliminary, and he can fall back by 7 points and still probably be okay. If it gets more than 7, he starts to get in trouble. 53, that's just a little bit less than a 7-point drop for him. Okay, so again, that's making this closer for Dooley. Douglas County here, okay, Collins in the preliminary. His two-way share of the vote here was 46. He's at 43, okay? So that's not much slippage right there. These are some pretty big counties we're looking at. Floyd County, this is the biggest one in northwest Georgia. It's going to be your sort of biggest population. We only have 123 votes there, so we won't worry about that. Go down to deep south Georgia here, okay, where Valdosta is. Take a look here at Lowndes County. That's 29 votes. Take a look here. Okay, this is interesting because where are we now? Now we are in that Buddy Carter congressional district. Savannah's the anchor of that district, and we got a real ton of vote right there. The two-way, now this is interesting because the two-way share of the vote, remember, this is where you got a lot of up-for-grabs voters. It was 66% was Collins' share of the Collins versus Dooley vote. That's double digits. That's a little bit more than a 10-point drop for Collins. That's good news for Dooley if he can hold it in a place like that. Again, we talk about that difference between the early vote, the same day vote. I'm just going to look at these because these are all in that Buddy Carter congressional district we were talking about. Glynn County on the coast here. The two-way share for Collins here was 67, so he's right at it already. That's not a good number for Dooley. That is a good number for Collins. Camden County, okay, Brunswick, Georgia, 75% was the two-way share for Collins. He had 72. These two are very encouraging numbers for Collins. Take a look at next door, start to work our way inland, Brantley County. It was 80, now down to 71. So just give you a sense of it. Now, what I want to do, and take a look here, we're also in, this is in Mike Collins' congressional district, too. I just wanted to see Oconee County. This is a pretty big one. This is near where Athens University of Georgia is. That's Clark County, but this is a big one, and this is in Collins' congressional district. And the Collins share here was 51, and he's dropped to 44. It's exact, so it's right on that number. So we zoom out. We got 8% of the vote in, and Dooley is leading narrowly right now. Let's flip over. We'll explore this deeper. Let's flip over and take a look at that governor's primary because we haven't introduced that one yet, and I want to. Okay, wow. We got a big wow. So here's Rick Jackson and Burt Jones, and Jackson is leading this early by 25 points with the same pool of votes that we just saw from Dooley. So let's take a look here and break this down. And again, in the preliminary, Jones finished ahead of Jackson. Let me just zoom out. Jones finished ahead of Jackson in the preliminary. It was 38-33 statewide, Jones over Jackson, 38-33. Now, what did that work out to in the two-way? If it was just Jones and Jackson, just the share of the vote, if you just took their votes and compared it, it was 54-46 for Jones, the lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor endorsed by Trump and endorsed at the last minute by Governor Brian Kemp. Trump and Kemp on the same side here. Jackson, the self-funding businessman, poured a ton into this race, running as sort of a populist conservative. But again, the two-way vote between them in the primary, Jones got 54% of it. So what does he have? He has about 4 points of pad as we work our way through these counties, okay? So take a look at Fulton County, right? Say he's got about 4 points of pad. What was his number here in the preliminary? Jones's number in Fulton County in the preliminary was 47. 14 points off in the first batch of votes. Wow, if you're Jackson, that is super encouraging. Forsyth County, Forsyth and Cherokee, you're getting north of Atlanta here. These are big Republican vote centers here. Forsyth County, and this was a good county for Jackson in the primary. But again, we're working off Jones's number here just as a point of reference. So what was Jones's number here was 45 in the preliminary. Remember, we think he's got about 4 points of pad, give or take. Double digits off that. These are big counties here. Floyd County, okay? Look at this. Jackson by 23 points. What was the number here in the preliminary? The two-way share for Jones was 55. Sorry about it. 55 was the two-way share for Jones, down to 38. So, wow. I mean, just zooming out here, 12% in right now. these numbers, if you're Jackson, these are spectacular numbers for you early. Let's take a look. Get down here. This is a big one, Chatham County, where Savannah is. Okay, so in the preliminary, the Jones share here of the two-way was 57. He's at 4. Again, he's well below the little sort of pad that he had coming out of that primary. Go down to those coastal counties there. Glenn County, a pretty big one here. Jackson, 53-47. Jones's number here was 59. He's 12 points. It's just very consistent here. Lowndes County, where Valdosta is, this is a fair amount of vote here. The Jackson share here was 70. Oh my gosh, was 72. The two-way share between them. So wow, right away we got Jackson putting up. If you're him, these are dream numbers. If you're Rick Jackson early on here, if you're Jones, these are terrifying numbers. The one thing I would say is what we set up at the beginning. This is the early vote, right? The election day vote is the vote that tends to be the more pro-Trump, the more pro-MAGA. Okay, Trump has endorsed Jones, so if that's going to really show itself, the election day vote, you'd expect him to do better in. But this is setting up where he's got to do, from what we're already seeing, he's got to do a lot better with the election day vote. And keep in mind, we say Trump endorsed Jones yesterday, or it might have been 2 days ago, but in the last 2 days, Donald Trump Jr. publicly said, basically, Rick Jackson's okay. He said he's a good man, and he said either way, he says it's not an endorsement, but either way, whether it's Jones or Jackson, MAGA wins. That was Donald Trump Jr. basically on the eve of this runoff. Did that indicate that the Trump folks saw some polling, that what we're looking at right now might be coming and they wanted to get a little bit ahead of it? Well, okay, I think that's worth keeping in mind. Does that also reflect that, hey, maybe there were indications there that this, the MAGA, the pro-Trump vote was not going to Jones? So there's indications of that certainly in what we're looking at from these results. Let's get back over to that Senate page here. 12% in. Mike Collins has taken the lead here statewide over Dooley by 206 votes. Let's see here. We had Douglas, right? What did we? I mean, let's just look through. I think the best thing we can do here is look at that trend that we established, right? That Collins he can probably afford to run about 7 points. In any given county, he can probably afford to run about 7 points worse than he did in the two-way vote in the preliminary, okay? So we're just going to run through a series of them here and see what that trend looks like, okay? So right here, the number for Collins was 47 in the preliminary. He's running at 45. That's good for him, okay? Just one county here, but this is what, this is a tiny, we showed you, okay, here we go. Collins is running at 47%. And what was the number here for him? It was 52. 52 down to 47, right? So it's only a 5-point drop for him. We're seeing drops, but we're not seeing them necessarily of the magnitude. Again, we're kind of getting into his congressional district here. These are small. We showed you Oconee County. Barrow County, okay, this is a pretty good one. Good size here. This is in Collins' district. Collins' two-way share here was 59 in the preliminary, down 10 points right there. So that's what Dooley would want to see. Jackson County, had we shown you this one before? If we didn't, we'll show it to you again. We're outside of the Collins congressional district, but he got 55 in the two-way vote in the preliminary. It's 47. So you're seeing a mix here. You're seeing a mix for Collins. We just got, okay, this is Clayton County. If this were a Democratic primary, I'd be super excited now because this would be a ton of votes. It's not that many on the Republican side. This is right there, just outside Atlanta here. But again, Collins got 48% here in the preliminary. He's running at 40%. We showed you Forsyth. Adam, what am I missing? Some big stuff here. What's the biggest one I'm not showing right now?
I was just taking a look. I was trying to look for election day vote.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll go right.
Yes.
This is a good size one. This is where Warner Robins is, and we got the early vote. Collins is running at 66% right here. He was running at 74 in the preliminary, so that's 8 points off in a pretty decent sized county right there. Sorry, Adam, you were saying that's 14%. That's what it looks like.
I was trying to look for election day vote, and the most I see right now. Well, actually, here's Polk County? No, Bleckley County.
Yeah.
We have about, we have vote mode, election day vote and early vote in.
Mm-hmm.
In the early vote, we have Collins winning it 60-40, and the election day vote, he's winning it 69-31.
So, okay, and that's roughly how many votes are we talking about election day there?
That's 600 election day votes and 800 early votes.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, and it's a small number, but that is you heard what Adam said. Early vote was 20. This is one county, but early vote was 20 plus 20 Collins. Election day votes running almost twice that. That's kind of what we saw in the primary. That's kind of what we've been seeing, that trend of the Trump candidate, the pro-Trump, the Trump-backed candidates doing much better in the election day vote. It's small. It's not necessarily what it's going to be here, but we have reason to suspect it's going to be, and we now have one county where it's showing up that way. And that's a long way of saying, if that's the case, then everything we've been going through here, we're showing you some good-sized places where Dooley's getting, where if they were the final numbers, if what I was just taking you through were the final numbers, there are some big counties there where Dooley is getting the number he'd want to see at the end of the night. And there are some good-sized counties there where Collins is getting just what he would need, at the end of the night. But if that's what it looks like when we're basically looking at early vote, and the election day vote's going to be anything like what Adam just showed you, then it's advantage Collins. Then it's advantage Collins in a big way. So that's becoming already the big question here. Is there any kind of is that the pattern that establishes itself where Collins is doing that much better with the election day vote? Do you have comparable numbers for the governor's race? Are we seeing any kind of a difference there? Is that something you can?
Yeah, I mean, we can revisit. Let's see if in our same county. Yeah, the same county, Bleckley County.
Yep.
We have, it's Jackson 46, Jones 54 in the election day vote.
Election day vote is Jones plus 8?
Yep.
Okay, and the pre-election vote is?
The pre-election vote is 54-46 for Jackson.
So, okay, now that's interesting. So that's a net 16-point shift between the pre-election and the election day. So this is where it's interesting because Jackson's building a very big advantage here with the early vote. But if Jones is able to reverse that in a big way, we said with the election day vote, then the picture changes quickly. So take a look at Forsyth County. Just going to give you an example. This is some extrapolation until we have more of the election day vote that we can really dive into. But the Jones number in Forsyth County, right, was 46, okay, in the preliminary. Okay, it was the two-way number was 54-46 for Jackson over Jones. As you can see right now in the early vote, it's running at 66-34 for Jackson, 32 points. If what Adam just told you holds, though, then the election day vote would be running at a 16-point margin. It would be 58-42. Where would that land Jones, 34, 30. Jones would be coming. Oh boy, yeah. Jones would be that. If that's what were to happen, Jones would end up in the high 30s in a place like Forsyth. And again, he's got a pad of about 4 points. He can probably afford to finish with about 42% of the vote right here. Currently, he's running at 34. If he were getting the kind of improvement with the same day vote that Adam just told you, he's getting one small county. That number would come up, that same day vote would come up to 42. You would blend the two of them together. This number would rise close. It's telling you, just very, very roughly, it's telling you that Jones is getting substantial same-day improvement. So while these are dream early numbers for Jackson, now it's a big question. If what we saw in that one county is going to happen in other counties with the same-day vote. That's what has to happen across the board for Jones. At least that is what has to happen across the board. Because we've shown you already these early numbers have been we got Columbia County here. This is a pretty good-sized one. We got early vote in Columbia County, just north of Augusta here, sort of suburbs. And you're looking at Jackson, 55, Jones, 44, with the early vote here. And the Jones share was 56. Okay, Jones got 56% of the two-way vote between these two candidates in the preliminary, and he's running at 45. So it's well below where he can afford to be here, okay? He really probably needs to end up winning a county like this narrowly, but he probably wants to be over 50% here by a couple points. So that's the question. We're giving you the early vote right here. We got a ton of same-day vote to come. And if that same-day vote is substantially, net 16 points, for instance, as we saw in one county, more for Jones, he can do that. He can get to that number that he wants in Columbia. So this is setting up a really interesting dynamic right here. Take a look, Houston County, Warner Robins, we showed you this in the Senate race. Again, it's 54-46 here. What was the Jones number here in the primary? It was 57. So 57, 46, but again, we still got more than half the vote to come, and that vote is going to, we think, this is the expected vote, it's an estimate, but if that vote is much more pro-Jones, he can get to his number there. So zoom out, we got 15% statewide. The story right now is that Jackson is running up very big numbers with the early vote. The question is if Jones can compensate with the same-day vote. Jones running with the Trump endorsement. Can he get that's where you're really testing the value of the Trump endorsement, because we know that those election day voters tend to be the most hardcore pro-Trump Republican voters. Are they following Trump's heed here, Trump Sr.'s heed, and going big time for Jones? Were they swayed by what Donald Trump Jr. said the other night? So that's the question here. Adam, shout if you have any. I think we got Gwinnett. Okay, this is a huge piece of real estate right here. Gwinnett County, just outside of Atlanta here. And this is it. This is just a very big, it's politically significant here. So in this race, Jones's share of the two-way vote in the preliminary, okay, was 51%, and he's running back at 36 right now. Right? Where does he need to land? Where would Jones need to land in a place like Gwinnett County? High 40s. Probably 47%. We say he's got a pad of about 4 points. Probably got to be about 47% in a place like this. He's getting 36% in the early vote. He's got to have a huge number in that election day vote. That's what this is already kind of coming down to right here. Okay, governor's race. Adam, shout when you have either one of these races, but I think governor's race is honestly, either one of them, any same-day stuff you have. I want to see Gwinnett here in the Senate race. Okay, so remember we said Derek Dooley has got to run up his score here in the immediate Atlanta metro area. So he's running 59-41 in the early vote. Okay, again, we take this from the standpoint of the Collins number. What was the Collins number in Gwinnett County in the preliminary? It was 47%. Was his share of the two-way vote? Say again. Okay, folks, that was the people in the control room talking to me in the ear. Just remember, if you've been watching this, our News Now team is doing, their news shows tonight. They wanted to check in with us. This is Tom Young, Mrs. Top Story. So about 2 minutes from now, we're going to do a hit with them. I think they wanted to ask about California. So we may go a little bit away from this, but I promise you we're going to come right back to it. It's going to be like a 2-minute hit. We'll be right back to doing it. In the meantime, let's just, again, Gwinnett County, 47% was Collins' share, was his two-way share in the preliminary. We think he's got about 7 points of pad. He's running a little, that's about where he can afford to be. That's the low end at the end of the night. If Collins is there or above in Gwinnett, he's probably in a good place. And what we're waiting on is the same-day vote. And if that same-day vote is substantially, more Collins-friendly than the election day vote, he's going to have no problem getting there. So, again, that's the difference between these Senate races and these governor's races. And let me just take a look as you're communicating this way. Okay, yes. So, yes, we have this hit coming up, getting some instructions. And how much time do we have? 1 minute till this hit. So, okay, folks, again, let's see here. What can I show you in the last minute here? We had shown you Forsyth. We'd shown you Douglas. I'm just looking for big stuff around here. Rockdale County. This is more on the Democratic side. This would be big. This is all just the area that Dooley needs to be running very well in. Have we gotten any more from? Just again, this is sort of these are small counties, but this is Buddy Carter's congressional district. We raised the question. They're about 45. See, folks, I don't want to get too deep into something and have to abandon it because we're going right to this hit. So why don't we just show you this? You know the dynamic here. Okay, Dooley in the early vote is basically hitting the numbers he needs to be to have a chance in this thing. But if that same day vote is what Adam has started to see in that one county, then Collins should pull away. That's what he needs. He just needs to do better with the same day vote. In the governor's race here, different story. Jackson's having monster numbers in the election day, in the early, meaning Jones needs monster numbers in the same day. Okay, they're going to do this hit now.
We are back now, and polls have just closed in a critical runoff election in Georgia. Two Republicans battling it out for their party's nomination to try to flip a Senate seat red in November. And if it's election night, Steve Kornacki is at the big board. So, Steve, Congressman Mike Collins has the endorsement of President Trump. He's up against a former football coach, Derek Dooley. One of them will go head-to-head with Democrat Jon Ossoff in the general election. What are we seeing so far?
Yeah, look, it's close so far here between Collins and Dooley. You see about 20% of the vote is counted. The key right now, Tom, is what you're looking at generally in these results. It is early vote that was cast, days ahead of time before Election Day. What's going to start to fill in all these places where you see different colors right now, what's going to start to fill in is the vote that was cast today in person. And that's going to be the test of this Trump endorsement, because what we've seen in these Republican primaries is that election day vote in Republican primaries, that tends to be the most pro-Trump, the most pro-MAGA vote. So if right now, this is an extremely competitive race in what we're seeing with the early vote. If that election day vote, which tends to be more pro-Trump, responds to Trump's call to Republicans to get behind Collins, he should be able to pull away here. But that's an open question right now, because we're not really seeing any of that election day vote yet. Right now, what we're looking at is a very competitive race.
All right. And then before you go, there's a heated Senate battle for the GOP in Alabama. What are you going to be watching for there?
Yeah, well, in Alabama, the polls will be closing in less than an hour. Another test of the Trump endorsement, Trump endorsing Congressman Barry Moore. Barry Moore finished first in the preliminary. This is a runoff. Jared Hudson had finished second. He's sort of a conservative, grassroots sort of insurgent figure here. He finished a distant second to Moore in the preliminary. There's some pretty clear geographical contours here. Moore's congressional district is based in the sort of Mobile, South Alabama area. Expect him to run up the score here. Hudson did really well around Birmingham, population center in the middle part of the state. I think the area that's going to decide this is North Alabama and Huntsville, which is one of the fastest growing cities in the country and has become the biggest city in Alabama. I think that might be the region that decides this thing tonight.
And a place where NBC is number one. We love Huntsville. All right, Steve Kornacki, we thank you for that. We know you'll be at the Kornacki Cam all night long.
All right, folks, there we go. So while we were doing that, as you can see, we've ticked up to 24% here in the Senate runoff here. Collins and Dooley have kind of been trading positions there. Show you the governor's race, what that looks like. So, I mean, first of all, just a clear difference between these races. We're looking at the same pool of votes, of ballots that have been counted in each race. In one of them, it's working out to dead even in what's been counted so far. In the other, it's working out to a giant advantage for Rick Jackson. Adam, have we seen any more Election Day vote?
Yeah, we have a couple counties with Election Day vote. I was just looking at Webster County. It was Jackson plus, I think I wrote down here, 46 in the pre-Election Day vote, and it was Jackson plus 14 in the Election Day vote.
Wow.
Pulaski County is the one I was just looking at. That one was 54-46 in the pre-election day vote for Jackson.
It was Jackson plus 8 in the pre-election.
Yeah, and then it was 55-45 for Jones in the election day.
Wait, okay, Jackson plus 8 to Jones, Jays I'm seeing here. This is Jackson plus 8 and then Jones plus 10.
Plus 10, right.
Wow, okay.
Those were the two counties I was looking at. There's a couple other small counties. Let's see if we can.
We're seeing big swings here, yeah.
Yeah, so Greene County is another one.
Yeah.
It was 56-44 in the
For who?
Early in person for Jackson.
Jackson was plus 12.
And then in the election day, this one's not all in.
Right.
But Jones is leading that 55-45.
So the swing is 22 points. The swing is 18 points, right? And the swing is 32 points. That's the net swing that we're seeing in Jones's direction. The difference now in 3 counties here that we're getting these election day results from versus the early vote. So wow, just like I said, those initial numbers we saw, those initial returns of the early voting were dream numbers for Jackson. Those initial election day vote numbers that we're seeing are dream numbers for Jones. So this is now netting out to, we posed that question right away as we started to see Jackson putting those numbers up there. We saw right away Jones is going to need to have monster election day numbers. Starting to get some indications that he is, or that it's certainly possible that he will. Seeing that in 3 counties now so far. Let's take a look here as the Atlanta metro area continues to sort of fill in a bit. We got Cherokee County. This is one of the biggest Republican vote-producing counties in the United States of America, plurality-producing counties here. You see Jackson here. Again, this is the early vote. It's a 30-point advantage for Jackson, 65-35. Now, the two-way between these two candidates in the preliminary, okay, Jones got 49% in the preliminary, dropping to 35. So again, those are dream numbers for Jackson because, look, Jones ultimately wants to be in the 40s in Cherokee County. He wants to be, it was 42% or above, I would say, in Cherokee County. He's running at 35, but that's with only the early vote. And if that same day vote is swinging the way Adam just described it, if that's extending to a place like Cherokee County, that's one thing. What Adam was just showing us, those are very small counties so far where we're seeing those numbers. Cherokee County's massive. We're sort of north of Atlanta here, suburbs, exurbs, growth, and again, sort of core Republican area here in the state. If it extends there, Jones got a fighting chance, got more than a fighting chance here. If he's getting that kind of a jump here, again, he wants his number, his overall number in Cherokee County to land probably at 42% or above. The kind of swing we're seeing in those small counties, if applied to Cherokee County, would do that for him. So, but again, we need to see that in some bigger places. And I'm just taking it again, Dawson County here, take a look. Early vote, right? Half the vote. Jackson 66, Jones 34. What was Jones' number in Dawson County? In the preliminary, he lost it, right? He lost the 2. He had 46, right? 46 down to 34. So again, it's a very consistent pattern that we've seen in these results. We got Bibb County where Macon is. I see we get about a quarter of the vote there, the early vote here. 53-47 Jackson over Jones. The Jones number here was 60, right? Starts out at 47, right? So again, where does Jones want to land in a place like this? Remember the math here. He can afford to give about 7 points off his preliminary two-way margin. So that was 60. He could probably afford to land, give or take, at 53% here. He starts out the count tonight at 47. If he's doing that much better with the election day vote that will now be added into this, he can definitely hit that 53% number or even go higher than that. Again, sort of we're getting some votes here. Henry County, again, in a Democratic primary, this would be a monster here, but it's still pretty substantial. In a Republican primary, probably 1.5% of the vote will come out of here. Half the vote here, early vote. So Jackson with a 5-point margin over Jones here. Okay, in the preliminary, the Jones number here was 62, right? 62. He's basically running at 48 right now. He probably wants to get to 55 here. So half the vote, he's running at 47.5. He wants to get to 55. What does that mean? It means he's got, in that second half of the vote, he's got to be over 60%. The election, he's got to get more than 60% of the election day vote in Henry County, and that would net out to about 55%, which should be about his target here tonight. But what Adam is telling us, at least from the small counties where we're seeing this, is that's not out of the question at all. So again, just giving you a sense of it, zoom out, 27% of the vote, a little bit more than a quarter in here, gubernatorial primary, that's the dynamic. Go over to the Senate side here, okay, 26%. So it's not, it's now a 4,500 vote margin, as you see there for Collins, over Dooley. Had we shown you, I don't think we had shown you Henry, we could just, again, give you, this is a pretty good one because it's half, like literally half the expected vote here, right? So what was the Collins share here in the primary? The two-way share for Collins was 59, okay? He got 59%. He's running at 51, okay? And again, we think he's got a pad there. We think he's got a pad there of about 7 points. So, where does he want to, he's just south. He's just a tick below where he wants to be, with half the vote still to come. He probably, I'd say 52 would be a good target for him here. He's at 51, okay? But if that second half of the vote is like at all better for Collins than the first half, he'll hit that target. And if it's substantially better, he'll blow by that target. That continues to be the dynamic. I don't think did we look at Cherokee here? This is the big one. Okay, Cherokee County here in the Senate race. Again, 55-45 right now. Dooley over Collins with that early vote. The Collins two-way share here in the preliminary. He got more votes than Dooley up here. He got 50. Sorry about this. Let me do that again. He got 52, okay, right? And he's running at 45 right now. And again, that's exactly basically where he needs to, we say 7 points. He can afford to, shave about 7 points off that margin. That would knock him to 45. So if it stays at 45, it indicates a super close race statewide. But if the rest of that vote, the election day vote, is at all more Collins, he will be over the number that he can, 45 is probably the target for him. He'll be over that. So these are like sort of, what would you say, prospectively, the numbers you're seeing kind of across the board here in this Senate race, in the Senate runoff, are prospectively good for Collins, better for Collins than Dooley. What Dooley needs to have a shot here is something that we really haven't seen in these primaries so far, and that is that that election day vote, in a Republican primary, doesn't substantially shift towards the Trump-endorsed, Trump-aligned candidate. And again, any more election day vote we got, Adam?
Not at this second.
Okay, you'll flag anything we get there, right?
Yep.
Okay, because that's the question of the hour. Is what are we looking at there? I think had we shown you Columbia in the Senate race, suburbs here of Augusta? Forgive me if I think I went through this on the governor's side. Do you remember? It was the governor's.
I don't remember. Richmond and Paulding were the ones that just came over. Coweta just came over.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I just caught my attention.
Yeah. Okay. So Paulding's a pretty good size here. Okay, right. Paulding, you may remember from our 14th district special election coverage. So again, this is sort of a fast-growing area here, sort of Atlanta exurbs. Okay, so Dooley is slightly ahead here in the early count, and the Collins number here was 52 in the preliminary. And again, he won the two-way share pretty handily over Dooley in the preliminary, meaning he could come down off that preliminary number and still be okay. He probably can come down to about 45%. He's already at 49. Already at 49 with the election day vote still to come. So that's, again, that's what we're saying. These numbers are prospectively good for him. Those are the kinds of things that we're seeing right here. Take a look here. We got about a third of the vote, early vote. Again, same exercise. Collins is running at 45. His two-way share here in the preliminary was 47. So he's actually already over it. These are getting better for Collins as we kind of look through them here. Zoom out statewide, 30%. Collins opens up a 7,000 vote advantage. And again, I think the other thing now that this map is really, kind of filling in, we still have, some blank counties here, but we've had some pretty big ones. I'll tell you, the big one we have not heard from is right here, Cobb County. Cobb County is probably going to produce the most votes in this primary, the most raw votes in this primary. I think about 7% of all the votes statewide here in this Republican runoff are going to come out of here. We haven't heard from them yet. Obviously, look all around it. You can expect probably a pretty safe bet that'll be a Dooley shade of pink when it lights up initially. But again, that's going to be that early vote, and then we're gonna kind of go from there. Governor's race, flip back over, 30%, and again, continues to be a solid advantage for Jackson, but some indications that Jones can reverse this. Jones can reverse this thing on that election day vote.
I can give you the cumulative, election day vote early split. I gave you some of the counties that we have, completed vote in. But some of these counties we have partial vote in, and so we have cumulative numbers if you wanted to.
Now, okay, let's just set this up properly ahead of time. When you say cumulative, when you give me the early vote, it's going to be just the early vote from the counties that we're talking about.
No, it's going to be early vote from everywhere and election day vote from everywhere.
It's apples and oranges. Yeah, we need some apples to apples comparisons here to make this to make sense of this. But
I'll keep you posted.
And one thing, we had gone through those numbers for 3 counties in the governor's race. Did you have them for the Senate race too?
Sure, yeah, we have them.
Why don't we do that? Because I think that one's a little more clear cut right now, and this might make it clear. take me through the Collins margin. Just we'll do early, same day. What you're finding in completed counties?
Yeah, so the biggest ones we have right now, Brantley, in the pre-election day vote, it was Collins 71, Dooley 29.
So 42 points for Collins in the
Election day vote,
Yep.
75, 25.
So 50. Okay. Yep.
Bleckley County,
Yep.
the pre-election 60, 40, Collins over Dooley. And then election day 69, 31, Collins over Dooley.
38. Yeah, we had shown that one earlier. Yep.
And then Ben Hill would be another one here.
Yep. Down.
Pre-election day vote, Collins 58, 42. And then election day vote, Collins 66, 34.
So 3 small counties, but 8, 18, and 16 is the net shift towards Collins in those 3 that are that we have election day vote from. I mean, Ben Hill's very small, but we think Ben Hill's completed. So this is useful because we're going to start to get to do this more and more as they fill in, right? So now we've got the 2 pieces here. We've got the pre-election and we've got the election day. We've got them merged together, and this is where it lands. This is a very small county, but this is where it lands. Okay, so this is sort of the ultimate test right here. Collins' share of the two-way vote in Ben Hill County in the preliminary was, I keep doing that, was 60%. Blending in that significant improvement he got with the election day vote, he lands at 62. Remember, we said Collins in any given county has a pad of about 7 points off of that preliminary number, right? Meaning he probably just wants to be 53 or above in a place like this, and he lands at 62. So it's very small, but as we start to get completed counties and those 2 pieces come together, right, that's what we're looking at. There's one small completed county, but there's Collins doing better than he did in the 2-way preliminary split with Dooley, okay? So that's, again, these numbers are, everything that we're seeing right now, we're saying is prospectively very encouraging for Collins in terms of winning this thing. And now in at least a completed county, you're seeing how those 2 things kind of come together. The possibility that's being hinted at right here, which also means, perhaps more significantly, in the governor's race, we can do this too. Why did it take me so long to do this? Jackson 52, Jones 48 is where it lands in the governor's race. So how did those 2 pieces come together here in this county? The Jones share in the preliminary, was 55. We've blended together the pre and the election day. It's 48. And what did we say Jones's pad was in any given county? Remember, it was 54-46 was the 2-way share, about 4 points. So 51 or so would be the target for Jones in a county like this. Basically, he'd want to be on the north side of 50. He lands just on the south side of it. Now, that's one small county, and that's not a huge difference between 48 and 51. But if that becomes the story of coming short of that number that, is sort of his pad here, that becomes a problem for him. But, I think that's what we're looking. We're looking at some real suspense here in this governor's race. Just based on the numbers, the sort of very limited numbers that we've seen that Adam's been able to give us from the election day vote in some of these places. I think, had you told me, Adam, Bleckley's another one we got? Yeah, we're complete.
Bleckley's another one. We got Cobb and Hall early votes in the.
Oh, okay. We'll go back to Bleckley. Remind me if I don't. Sorry, Cobb. We've really hyped Cobb here. What are we looking at? Okay, we got early vote in Cobb. Again, single biggest vote-producing county, we think, tonight in the Republican side in this runoff. Jackson 64, Jones 36. This is a biggie. The number for Jones, right, in Cobb County in the 2-way vote in the preliminary was 51, and he's running at 36, right? And again, he doesn't have to get 51. I'd say he wants to be at 47 or above. He's at 36 right now. He's got to do a ton better. Now, there is a lot of votes still to come in Cobb County, and that's going to be election day vote. You got to do a lot better than he did with that early vote, because that's the number he wants to end up hitting. So, and again, this is not inside. We've shown you couple completed counties here that are very small, hundreds of, 1,500, 2,000 votes total. I mean, look at this. We got, more than 20,000 just in the early vote right here in Cobb. This is the mother of all counties, as a matter of fact, tonight, as it goes in Georgia. But again, any completed county we want to look at. That's why I'm going to zoom in on Bleckley for a minute. It's basically a tie between these candidates. It's a difference of 6 points. It is a 50-50 tie. What was the Jones number in the preliminary? The two-way Jones number was 59 here, right? He has a little bit of a pad. He probably wants to be at 55 or above. He gets 50. These are two small counties, but we're with them because these are the completed counties, and they're the ones that are going to tell the clearest picture. But we got two completed counties, two very small completed counties, and in both of them, Jones is finishing several points below what would kind of be his baseline hit this number or above target. At 50, probably wants to be at 55 or above here. Remember, we showed you 48, probably wanted to be at 51 or above. So we've seen that in two counties right now that are completed. Adam, any more completed? I can look here too while I don't mean to.
Yeah, no, I think I have Banks and Greene counties.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may have done Greene before, but yeah, we could talk through those if you want to talk through them. Banks County, I have the early vote at 63-37 for Jackson.
Sorry. 63-37 Jackson. You have Jackson plus 26 with the early vote, right?
And then on the election day, I have it for Jones, 53-47.
You have Jones, so we have a 32-point swing there.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so there's one that, I'm just trying to take stock of the clock here because it's also, we have Alabama closing in 9 minutes.
We'll also join Stay Tuned at the top of the hour as well.
Okay, take me through the plan here. We have DC closing as well.
Yes.
So at the top, we're going over to do an update on Georgia.
Yes,
Okay.
and as polls close in Alabama, they just kind of want an overview of the night.
Okay, folks. One thing I'll tell everybody just about Alabama when it closes, it's a pretty slow counting state. We'll spend more time kind of setting it up right there. I think you know the basic dynamics. Barry Moore, the Trump-endorsed candidate, finished first in that preliminary, but Jared Hudson, there's a lot of signs in the polling that Hudson's got some real life there. Could be a very interesting race. Just to set that up, though, it's pretty sluggish getting those numbers going there. Folks watching in D.C. tonight, we haven't forgotten about your mayor's race. Look, I'm not going to leave this for more than a second, but we got it teed up here. The polls are closing in less than 10 minutes. We'll dive into it, but we're going to be showing you results from there tonight. Going back over here to Georgia, and at 9 o'clock also, at 8 o'clock, excuse me. At 8 o'clock also, we got Oklahoma.
That's right.
Coming right now. Okay. Oklahoma, we got an interesting gubernatorial primary. There's a Trump endorsement there. It's a multi-candidate race. We're going to be doing some, don't worry, Sooners and Cowboys. And Tulsa Golden Hurricane. I don't want to miss any schools right there. Oral Roberts. We got you all covered. We're going to do some Oklahoma as well. But in the time that we have right here, you mentioned Banks, I think, Adam, is completed. So let's take a look at Banks. Again, small, about 2,000 votes, but completed, so we can start to answer some questions here. Gubernatorial primary. I think you told us that Jones got some pretty big improvement right here. His number in the preliminary, this was basically a tie between Jones and Jackson in the preliminary, and Jones finishes with 44% here. Again, 4 points or so. He probably wants 46 or above. Again, missing the number by 2 points in a county this small by itself is not at all catastrophic. It may not even be significant, but if it continues to be the trend, that's the problem for Jones. So again, this is the third time we got a completed county, all of them small, where Jones is falling a little bit short of that number. Let's take a look at Banks here, though, in the Senate race. Let me call that one up. Okay, so now we got completed in here as well. Collins wins it by about 3 points over Dooley, but the question is, what was Collins' number here in the preliminary? The Collins number in the preliminary was 54. He does not meet his number, but what did we say? He has about 7 points of pad, meaning, he probably wants to be at 47 or above here, and he lands at 51. So again, by itself, overperforming, your target by 4 points is not be all and end all in a county this size. But is this also part of a pattern we're seeing in the Senate race? So again, now nearly 40% of the vote here in the Senate race. It is a 10,000 vote advantage Collins over Dooley. You see, not all. You see a lot of these counties now. We have the early vote, and we are just waiting on getting that election day vote to fill in these two pieces of the puzzle. Again, go over to the governor's race, same thing. About 40% of the vote, same question. And Adam, I keep asking you, but is there any more completed or?
Yeah, let me take a look here. I think Pierce County would be another one that we haven't done.
Oh, I see a bunch of completed here, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking for small, right? What do we got? Towns County. That's going to take us way up. No, okay, so let's take a look at Towns County. I think this might be the biggest completed one we haven't shown you, actually. Far, far north Georgia right here. Okay, 52-48, Jackson wins the county. Okay, what was the what was the Jones number here in the preliminary? Select that. The Jones number was 53 here, right? We think he has a pad of about 4 points, so he probably wants to be 49 or above. He lands at 48. Small, but we've now seen 4, where this has been the story for Jones, falling just short of that number he wants to have. Senate side, same county. Let's take a look here. Towns County, far north Georgia. Collins going to win this thing by 17 points over Dooley. Collins' number here in the preliminary was 55. Well, I don't even need to go through the permutations on this. He's north of that number. He's got pad. He's got more pad from that preliminary two-way number than Jones has in the governor's race, and he goes north of it in Towns. So again, we are seeing patterns is a small number of completed counties, and they're very small, but we've seen the same thing in the Senate side in each one of them, and we've seen the same thing in the governor's side in each one of them. We got 7:57 here. I'm just looking at the clock. D.C. comes up at the top of the hour. Oklahoma comes up at the top of the hour. Alabama comes up at the top of the hour. Stars fell on Alabama. Stars fall on Alabama. How's it go?
Reference is lost on me.
Oh, that's the class. It's on their license plates. Last night we lived a little.
I haven't traveled enough in Alabama.
I think it was in Forrest Gump. I think that's what kind of popularized. It's an older song, I know, but I think it's in Forrest Gump. Hang on, let me just check this. If you bear with me, I'm trying to find a number here. Okay, just looking. 2 minutes to the hit. Oh, okay. No, that's right. If you could just give me the, yep. Okay, so we got this actually. This may be the biggest. We got 2 minutes. Okay, this may be the biggest completed county. I was just going through that list again. I think this is the biggest completed county. Okay, we're near the Athens area. Collins. This is Collins congressional district. So take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. Collins' number here in the preliminary, however, was 60. Okay, he's going to land just south of 56. Again, he's got he probably wants 53 or above. He's going to land at 56 in his congressional district. Okay, go to the Republican gubernatorial race, same county, Greene County here. Jackson 51, Jones 49. What was the Jones number in the preliminary? It was 54. We think he's got 4 points of pad. He wants to win it, basically. He just misses. This is like 5 now where we've seen this exact same story for Jones. It's not catastrophic for him because they're small counties. And if this is not being repeated in the bigger counties, it could be okay, but he's missing so far, just missing his target, his sort of bottom line target in all of them. So 40% in statewide. We're going to this hit in exactly 1 minute, and I'm just looking to see if I can give you.
We're getting closer in Oconee County.
I just saw the same thing. Can we call that up on the screen here? Okay, this is not quite complete, but this is pretty good. Let's see if we just a minute. Okay. This is just outside Athens here. Again, keep in mind in the Senate races, Collins District. Okay, Jones, 48.5. What was his number here in the preliminary? It was 55. Okay, with the pad, probably needs 51. He's running at 48.5. There are some outstanding votes. This can come up. Is it going to come up to 51? It looks like another one where he's likely to just miss. Okay, Senate race. Same county, same here. Almost all. Dooley 54, Collins 45. What was the Collins number here in the preliminary? 51, right? You think he's got 7 points of pad. He wants 44. Boy, it's uncanny, isn't it? In both races, we're seeing the same. Collins just over that number, hasn't gone under it yet. And on the same side, Jones hasn't gone over his yet. 5 or 6 close to completed counties that we've seen. But we haven't shown you real big ones yet. Okay, now it's women. I can see this is going to be Gotti Schwartz stay tuned. He'll come. We'll check in on this. So we'll give him a version of this. Show you folks, though, polls now closed in Alabama. Remember, Trump endorsed Barry Moore, sort of conservative insurgent, former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson. I'll just remind you, this is what it looked like in the preliminary. This was a pretty healthy margin. Moore over Hudson. Steve Marshall, the third candidate. He's from North Alabama, right? The district for Moore is down here, his congressional district. As you can see, Hudson cleaned up and did. The reason Hudson made the runoff, big numbers over Marshall around Birmingham. In this area right here, there's a lot of population in these two counties. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the United States of America, Huntsville. And again, that was sort of Marshall's area. You see, Moore won it, but low numbers. Marshall got a lot of votes up for grabs up there. Okay, folks, they're coming to me here in a second.
And more with NBC News' chief data analyst, Steve Kornacki, at the big board. Steve, great to see you. You've been watching this before the show. So polls closed about an hour ago in Georgia. How's it looking right now?
Yeah, we got some interesting races here. 2 close races in our hands here. First, in that Republican runoff for the United States Senate, the winner getting Democrat Jon Ossoff in November. Congressman Mike Collins is leading the count right now over former Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley, also the son of a former University of Georgia football coach. That might be more relevant right here, but a 14,000 vote advantage, Collins over Dooley. The numbers I would say that we've been looking at, Dooley has been competitive, but what's happening right now is the election day vote, the vote that was cast in person at the polls today, is starting to get added to the mix. And what we found in these Republican primaries this year has been that vote has tended to be the more pro-Trump, pro-MAGA vote. Collins, of course, running with the Trump endorsement here. So far what we've been seeing is that election day vote has been added in, has been probably a little bit better for Collins than it is for Dooley. Still a very competitive race, though. And on the governor's side here, just take a look at this, Gotti. Rick Jackson, sort of conservative insurgent candidate, self-funding, has poured a ton into this with a big advantage over the lieutenant governor, Burt Jones. But that dynamic I just said about the election day vote, the pro-Trump, pro-MAGA vote starting to get added in. What we're seeing here is that election day vote, where we've seen it, has been pretty friendly to Jones, and Jones running with the Trump endorsement in this race. So Jones is going to need to have big numbers to turn this around when the election day vote's added in. There are some early indications, Gotti, that he could be able to do that. If he does, this is a real barn burner on the gubernatorial side.
Wow. And outside of Georgia, we've got races in Alabama, in Oklahoma, California, also in D.C. Anything else that you're watching right now?
Yeah, polls just closed west of the border here. Wow, this is the gubernatorial. This is the I'm sorry, this was not supposed to happen. I was supposed to get the Senate race up. There it is. I apologize for that glitch. That's entirely my fault. This is the Senate runoff, the Republican Senate runoff in Alabama. Again, this is a test of the Trump endorsement. Congressman Barry Moore against Jared Hudson, a former Navy SEAL, sort of running as a conservative activist insurgent. There's been some polling that this is a very close runoff. Moore had gotten more votes, done pretty well in the preliminary here. Hudson, though, had kind of closed strong. This is going to be a very interesting test. Alabama is a pretty slow state at counting up its votes. But I think a real interesting test here of the power of the Trump endorsement. The other thing that just happened, as you mentioned, in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., first time in 12 years, they are going to have a new mayor, the incumbent not seeking re-election. This is the Democratic primary. The city is basically all Democratic, so this is more than likely going to settle who the next mayor is. The two frontrunners, Janice Lewis George, she calls herself a Democratic socialist, against a former city councilman, Kenyon McDuffie, supported by a lot of the folks around the outgoing mayor, Muriel Bowser. One thing to keep in mind as these numbers come in tonight, they are for the first time in D.C. using ranked choice voting. If nobody gets 50%, they go through this long process here. Bottom line is they wouldn't give you the winner until probably a couple weeks from now, at least 10 days from now, if it does go to that ranked choice calculation.
Yeah, it's just another system to keep track of all the different systems that we use for the primaries in the United States. Wild. Meanwhile, here in California District 14 for Swalwell's seat, like that seems to be seeing some redistricting like whiplash, right? How's that looking?
Yeah, I mean, this is, folks, try to follow me if you can on this one, because boy, it doesn't get more confusing than this. But so California, a couple things happen here. This is a special election to fill the seat of Eric Swalwell. Remember, Eric Swalwell resigned in scandal. He had been running for governor, so his seat came open here regularly, but then he resigned his seat altogether, and it triggered a special election. So this is the special election tonight, and it's California. Democrats and Republicans all run on the same ballot, and then the top, if somebody gets 50%, they win on the spot. Otherwise, the top two will advance to a runoff. The winner, ultimately, of this will only serve probably the remaining, it'll probably end up being a couple months of that unexpired Swalwell term. But in the interim, the lines have changed a bit. But in the sort of new version of Swalwell's district, they already had the preliminary, and the leading candidate was Aisha Wahab there. She was the leading candidate. She still has to run in the general election. But bottom line is, you'd expect her to do well tonight based on how she did in a similar district in California's June primary. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it did. Wait, okay, so let me just make sure I'm following. So they are going back, again, California has redistricted, but they are going back to the original district lines for this vote, even though all other elections going forward are using the lines today, right? It boggles the mind that this is, again, this is a complex system that is used here in California. It is in flux right now. I know in Georgia, just speaking of redistricting in particular, Georgia, they're going into a special session tomorrow where they're drawing up lines potentially for 2028, and that's all under, review by the court system. Again, how do you keep track of this, Steve?
Yeah, no, look, that's it in California. They redistricted for all the seats that are up for election this November. And so we had the primaries a couple weeks ago for all of those districts. So we set that up. And as that's happening, sort of on this parallel track, Swalwell resigned from Congress altogether. So his seat is currently vacant in Congress. So this is an election to fill that seat until the end of this Congress, when whoever gets elected this November will take it permanently. So yeah, this is the lines were all redrawn for redistricting. So right, this is the sort of original version of the 14th district. And again, the winner here gets this job for a couple months, but this is a lot of overlap between who's running in the new version of it too.
Yeah, wild stuff. Steve Kornacki, really appreciate you breaking all that down for us. Thank you so very much, and we'll be checking back with you probably as the night continues.
You got it. Okay, folks, and let me put Georgia right back up here. Yep. Did somebody just call my name? No, okay. Sorry, Adam is giving me guidance from...
So going back to this race, we are getting some election day precincts out of Gwinnett. That's our first. Yep. We have about 8 precincts.
I'm sorry, are we in the gubernatorial race we're talking?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We have about 8 precincts, but it's about 1,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jones is carrying those 52.5 to 47.5.
So it's 5.
Yeah.
Right. And he's losing this by 27.
Yeah.
So it's a swing of 32 in 8 precincts. So highly, but again, just to give you a sense, because Gwinnett is one of the giant ones. We've shown you small counties, mainly because that's where we've gotten completed vote here. But the Jones two-way share in Gwinnett is 51%, right? And again, he wants to land at 47. He's nowhere near 47 right now. So if the final result in Gwinnett County is anything like this, if you boosted Jones's number by 5 points and cut Jackson's by 5 points, right? Anything like this, that is disastrous for Jones. Because I'm saying if you're missing targets by a few points in the small counties, you can make up for it. You can't miss it by big margins in places like Gwinnett County, Cobb County, the big population centers. So this number would be disastrous for Jones. But again, what Adam's just telling you, the reason why we're not coronating Jackson here as the nominee is is that election day vote going to be that much more pro-Jones where he can boost that 36 up into the mid-40s, up toward that number that he could sort of afford it to be potentially. So that's sort of the suspense here. As I said, these numbers, when the polls closed here, these are incredible numbers for Jackson. I was a bit taken aback by them, to be honest with you, the scale of Jackson's margins in these places. But that's the question: is that election day vote as it comes in, going over to the Senate race there. Do we have more? That's the question. Do we have more completed counties that came in? It looks like we do.
Yeah, we do have a note from our analytics team at the decision desk on this race as well.
Yeah.
They just note on the election day vote, Collins is winning by 30 points, and that is continuing to hold as these new election day votes come in across these different counties.
Collins is winning by 30 with just the cumulative statewide election vote.
Yes, as the election vote comes in, yes, he seems to be winning in every place that it's
right.
That's the cumulative.
Do we know what that compares to in the early vote? Like, what does that?
No, that's all I have from the decision desk.
I wonder if you could ask them if that's something they have, because I think that's the second part of that would be useful. But yeah, maybe it's easier for me just to look at them here. Yeah, Oconee is the biggest completed county that we have here on the Republican side. Again, what's come in is largely, largely rural. I think we showed you green.
We do also have our first result in Alabama Senate.
Okay.
Tiny a vote, but
why don't we head over there? Okay, and it is a this is a big county. Mobile County is going to be, one of the biggest in the state tonight. This is in Barry Moore's congressional district, right? His district is sort of South Alabama. It's Mobile, it's Baldwin County. These two counties together are going to be about 13% of the vote statewide tonight. His district kind of extends over here. They call that the Wiregrass region of Alabama. That's sort of his congressional district right here. He ran up very big margins there, not surprisingly, in the preliminary. This is just a scattering of votes, so there's not much to say about it. If Hudson were to be getting a number like that when we have substantial vote here, it'd be significant because, again, this is a population center in Moore's backyard. Again, in the preliminary, Hudson did his damage around Birmingham, the Birmingham metro area, sort of some of the exurbs, sort of north and west of Birmingham. And like I said, I think North Alabama there around Huntsville is where I'm particularly interested tonight. But again, it's just a small number of votes there. I'll check D.C. to see if anything's come in. Nothing has come in right there. We'll go back here to the Senate side in Georgia. Collins now, and you can see that margin. I think it's another way of looking at this result. We've been showing you the county by county targets, but the other thing that's happening right here is, most of this map is filled in, right, one way or the other. And the counties that are not filled in, significantly, the Atlanta metro area, right, has filled in. We don't have big, giant counties that haven't reported in the Atlanta metro area, meaning most of the population centers in the state, we've gotten the early vote from, right? So there are still some counties to come. A lot of these are going to be very small counties with very small share of the vote, meaning that this number here, this cumulative statewide number, really does reflect most of the early vote statewide. It reflects some election day vote as well. As you hear, some of that's coming in. But, I mean, one way of looking at this right now is Dooley's kind of probably hit his peak here, because we've now, in all the major population centers of the state, we've shown you the early vote, which we expect to be the best it gets for Dooley. And the indications certainly are that election day vote has been better for Collins than the early vote. And there it is. And as a result, NBC News is declaring that Mike Collins has won the Republican runoff. He's defeated former football coach Derek Dooley, and Mike Collins will now go forward to the general election where he will face Democrat Jon Ossoff. It is a seat Republicans would dearly love to flip because it would alter the math on the Senate side and all but cement that Republican majority. For Democrats, getting Ossoff over the finish line this November is sort of a critical baseline thing they need to do. They need to build a lot of other things from there, but Georgia's going to get a ton of attention this November, and the race is going to be between Ossoff and Collins. I think this is one. You've been watching the show. You know the basic national dynamics here. A lot of folks nationally think that Ossoff is going into this with a leg up over Collins, meaning that Collins, there's going to be some immediate pressure on Collins here as the nominee to show that this really is a competitive race that is worth Republican money. Because there's, again, this is a map now where Republicans have got to make some decisions, right? Talk about like Texas maybe being one where Republicans are going to have to spend unexpectedly. There's some other states like that. So how much attention are Republicans going to give to Collins versus Ossoff this November? I think that's sort of an immediate test that Collins is going to face now that he has gotten through this primary. He has defeated Derek Dooley. Again, this is a Trump endorsement. A Trump-endorsed candidate has won. Trump came in with a late endorsement here.
Stay tuned. I'll want to rejoin us in a minute here with the call update. And we do have our first results out of Oklahoma as well.
Okay.
And we have a little bit more out of Alabama.
Okay. When is Stay Tuned rejoining? Oh, we still have a few. Okay, we have a few minutes. Okay. Again, anything the decision desk can give us on apples to apples comparisons on early vote and election day vote in the governor's race in Georgia would be deeply appreciated. Again, why is it doing this when I go over to Alabama?
You got to use the shortcut because you're in two different races.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, again, so we've got a little bit more vote. We've got 18 more votes. Again, this is Moore's district. Not much to be said except to be continued in Alabama. So I have to press the thing at the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Okay, governor's race in Oklahoma here. Okay, now this is the gubernatorial primary. This is, wow, we've already got a fair amount of vote in here, 6% statewide. So Gentner Drummond, who is the state attorney general with the significance here is Mike Mazzei is the Trump-endorsed candidate in this race, okay? So we talked about Trump endorsing Collins, who just won in Georgia. This is where Trump has thrown his lot in the Oklahoma gubernatorial primary. Mazzei's political base is right around Tulsa. He is leading there in the votes that have been counted there so far. Tulsa, one of the major population centers, one of the major vote centers, also Oklahoma County right here. This is sort of a more moderate area. I'm not quite surprised to see Drummond doing well there. Chip Keating is the son of the former governor of Oklahoma, Frank Keating. Frank Keating was the governor there, 95 to 03. He was the governor during the Oklahoma City bombing. Was close friends with George W. Bush, who had been the governor of Texas at the same time. Charles McCall is the former State House Speaker, running on culturally conservative themes. He's from Atoka, Oklahoma. Jake Merrick had briefly been a state legislator. But again, I think between Keating, Mazzei, Drummond, that's where the drama has been in this thing. And this is just Oklahoma County I'm showing you. And again, Mazzei running with Trump's endorsement. So that's going to be the story we're following there tonight. Does that endorsement come through for Trump? D.C., nothing. Georgia, going back to the governor's race, this is sort of where the action is at this hour, as well as Alabama. So let me just kind of go through this here. I want to look at this gubernatorial runoff for a second and see where else we are.
We have some election day vote in Paulding as well.
How much do we have there?
About a quarter of the election day vote, 2,000 ballots.
Okay, so what was the early and what's it running at?
So the early was 63-37 for Jackson, and the election day vote is running at 51-49 for Jones.
So that is a 28-point turnaround, net turnaround for Jones. So that's now come in. Now this is an interesting test because this is a pretty significant county here. It's not the biggest, but it's not the smallest either. It's pretty good size here. So the Jones share of the two-way vote here in the preliminary was 51. He's running at 40. His early vote share was 37. So what's happened is, as the election day vote has come in, as this number has now started to climb toward 100, from 37 he's gone up to 40. Right? He's got to go a lot higher. he's got to get to the high 40s. He's got to probably be 47 or above at least, right? 47, we say, it'd be very shaky at 47. He'd probably want to be above that. So he's gotten it up to 40. And there are still a fair amount of election day votes to come right there. So that's the kind of math that we're looking at there in Georgia. So we got Paulding. That's a good one, Adam. Any other big ones here?
Carroll is another one. We have a third of the election day vote. We can do a comparison.
Okay, so in Carroll County, we got a third of the election day vote. So what was the early vote running at?
Jackson was winning at 61-39. And the election day vote is breaking 50-50.
Okay, so it is a 22-point shift. Okay, so with, as you can see, still we think half the vote to come right there. So what was the Jones share in the preliminary here? The two-way share for him was 53. Again, give or take a 4-point pad. He'd want to be 49 or above, and he's running at 44. But again, he started, when we got our first number of the night, our first vote report of the night in Carroll County, just the early vote, Jones was running at 38, right? We say he got to be 49 or above, probably above 49, okay? He started at 38, well below that number. We've now added in election day vote where he's doing a little bit better, and he's climbed. He's climbed to 44%. So that's the thing that's happening here. We're trying to gauge exactly the scale of this right here. So that's keep those coming at him. Those are hugely significant. They just said in my ear something. I can't. We have another hit.
Yeah, we're counting down to the to joining news now again. I think we're at about 2 minutes.
Okay. Do we have anything new?
About a minute.
About a minute. Okay. Nothing new in Alabama. What do they want to talk about, Adam, in News Now? Because
we'll update the call that we got and the Georgia governor race as well.
Okay. Okay. We got about 30 seconds, so you just bear with me. I'm trying to crunch some numbers while we get ready to do.
Some guidance here from the decision desk.
Yeah.
So they reviewed Oconee County. The early in person, Jackson won 58-42. Election day, Jones won 57-43. I'll pick up after this, but
we had shown that, didn't we?
Yes, that pattern repeating itself.
Do they have a statewide number?
That's the only number I have for you.
Okay, well, 15 seconds, folks.
A call to make in Georgia. NBC News can project that Congressman Mike Collins has won the Republican runoff election for Senate and will now face Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff in what many political experts are saying is one of the most competitive Senate races this year. Let's go back to NBC's Steve Kornacki at the big board. Steve, how did this take form here?
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge surprise, Gotti, because look, this is the runoff. These candidates had run in a primary with more candidates last month, and Collins was the clear number one in that race. He'd gotten over 40% of the vote. He was double digits ahead of Dooley in that preliminary. So this was a pretty steep hill for Dooley to climb all along. He was going to have to win the lion's share of the votes that were sort of up for grabs in this thing. And then at the end of this campaign, at the end of last week, Donald Trump got involved and endorsed Mike Collins, and we know that Trump endorsement certainly has carried considerable weight in all these Republican primaries. So Dooley was sort of up against it, and the geographic contours here, about what we were expecting. This sort of pinkish shade of red here is the Dooley color. This was where his strength was, the Atlanta metro area in the primary. There's a lot of votes right there, but in a Republican primary, not as many votes as there are in a Democratic primary in Georgia. The Republican vote is more spread out, and as you sort of extend across this map here, wow, you just start to see that dark red shade for Collins here all across South Georgia here into the northwest corner. A lot of Republican votes up there. Well, so just a breadth of support here for Collins that, Dooley didn't show that he had that breadth of support in the preliminary, and the evidence tonight is he didn't really build that in the runoff right here. And so the question then, as you say, is going to become one of the general election here. This is a race that, Democrats nationally trying to win back the Senate, they need a net gain of 4 Senate seats this November. That's a very hard thing for them to do when you look at what the map is going to be this November. One thing they absolutely can't afford if they're going to have any shot of doing that is losing a seat they already have. And that's the story here in Georgia. John Ossoff's the Democratic incumbent, and now we know his opponent is going to be Mike Collins. This is one, if Collins can make this a truly competitive race, and if he could ever knock off Ossoff this November, on the spot, he would all but cement the Republican majority in the Senate, because the math, if the Democrats can't hold on to a state like Georgia in a climate like this, the math for them would be too daunting, I think, elsewhere.
Yeah, it's looking like come November, it could go either way. Steve Kornacki, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And tonight.
Okay. All right. So again, we're updating folks in the Senate race. We're going to transition away from that now here. And again, looking at the governor's race, and you can see, I mean, I think, look, we're locked in on the granular readouts in these counties, but we're now at 50% of the vote statewide. Again, just about all the early voters in. You see a scattering here of small counties where you're going to add in some more early vote, but it's just about all in right now. And remember where the count started here. You know, this overall statewide count was running at about 60-40 for Jackson, and it's come down. Jackson's come down to 56. Jones has come up to 44, and he's clearly, Jones is doing substantially better with the election day vote than he did with the early vote, but he got blown out with the early vote. So what we're trying to figure out right now, is it at all possible that election day vote, he's doing substantially better enough that he could actually compensate for what certainly looked like disastrous numbers for him with that early vote? That's what we're trying to figure out right now. And let me ask Adam if during that update you were able to hear anything from our friends or see any more completed or see any more substantial major county election day vote updates.
Yeah, Walker is another county that we're now complete in. So in the early vote there, it was Jones winning 53-47.
Oh, sorry. In the early, okay, Jones won this by 6 early.
And in the election day vote, it's 57-43.
Oh, now that's it. 14.
Yes.
So here, that's just interesting on its face because that's only 8. It's a net shift of only 8 points right there. Jones over Jackson. We were looking at some other places. He needs the 15, 20 variety, 25 variety we've seen in some other places. Walker County, remember, this is it's sort of outside Chattanooga here, 14th congressional district. Georgia, there are a fair number of Republican votes up here. So that's one where, Jones is doing better there, but I think he wants to be doing better than that, which we've seen elsewhere. So again, that's just one county. You know, we're looking at, and what I have here, folks, so you know what I'm looking at. We have a sort of a giant, constantly updating spreadsheet here. And I'm just looking for some substantial places I can show you where I think we got, all the election day vote, and I can show you that. Do you have any, Adam?
Those were the big, substantial ones that I saw.
Okay, wait. Let me see if I have this in here. This might help. Come on now.
We're starting to get some election day vote.
Oh, go ahead.
Election day vote in Cherokee. We have about 2,000 votes, which is about 10% of our expected.
Okay, one second here. I think. Okay, yeah. Well, this is one of the bigger fully reporting. So let's use Morgan and then let's go to Cherokee. 50-50 here, Jackson Jones, right? So the Jones number here in the preliminary was 59, and we're completed, and he's running at basically 50. So he's not. We've shown you now 6 or 7 completed counties where Jones is running just under that number. Add that to the list. Cherokee County, big one. All right, so you say you got about 2,000 election day votes here?
Yeah.
So tell us what the this is hugely significant one. So tell us what the breakdown was early versus same day.
So the early was 65-35 for Jackson.
Right.
And the same day is breaking for Jackson 54-46.
8. Yeah. So it's a 22-point shift. It's a 22-point shift away from Jackson. He is still winning that election day vote, but he's not winning it by the same margin. So the target here, or I should say what happened in the primary was Jones's number here was 49, right? And he's running at 36 right now. And if he's still trailing the election day vote by 8, right, that means he's running at 46 with the election day vote. And he wants to be at, I'd say 45 or above here. So, and this is not one, we're showing you small counties. You say you can miss by a few points, and make up for somewhere else. These are the kinds of counties where you don't want to miss. And I mean, again, Cherokee is massive. One of the biggest vote producing counties in this runoff tonight. And so while that is a 22-point shift in Jones's direction here, he's getting 46%. We have more than half the vote to come in right now, and he's winning the election day vote, and he's getting about 46% of it. If he continues to get 46% of it, this number is going to come up. But this number is not going to come up to, I think, the bare minimum of what he needs here. He needs to be getting more than 46% of the election day vote in Cherokee County. He wants his number to be above 45% when all the votes are counted in Cherokee County. If he gets 46% the rest of the way, that's a lot of votes, and this number will come up. It will come up into the 40s, but it will not. It will fall short of that 45%. And again, this is the kind of county where if you're a few points short, it matters. So that's again, and it's 2,000 votes. That sort of clip that he's getting there, that 46% can change. I think it has to change for him. I think it needs to change for Jones right there. Do we have other big ones, Adam, where you're seeing this?
I'm taking a look around.
Okay, because I could show some more small ones here, but I'm looking for something sort of sizable that we can.
Yeah, the counties that are reporting fully are the smaller ones.
Right.
Some of the bigger ones, we are getting some precincts, but it's not completed. We can revisit Henry County, which I know we were looking at earlier.
Do we think we have?
We have about a third of the election day vote there.
Right. Henry's down here. Okay, it took me. Okay, so we got about a third of the election day. What are we looking at here?
So the early vote was breaking for Jackson 52-48, and the election day vote is breaking for Jones 58-42.
16. So it's an 18-point shift in Jones' direction. 2/3 of the vote is in right here. It's 50-50 right now between the two of them, and the Jones share in the preliminary, it was 62, right? So again, play this one out. He probably wants to get 58 because he had 62 of the two. He's at 58. And say again what the election day is running at.
I clicked out of it. The election day is running at 58-42.
50. Right. So okay, this is very similar to what we just showed you in Cherokee County. We still have vote to come. If he continues winning it, he's getting 58% of the election day vote. If Jones continues to get 58% with the remaining vote here in Henry County, this 50 is going to climb, but it's not going to climb all the way to 58. It will fall short of 58. And 58 is like the bare minimum he probably needs out of a county like this. And this one's not tiny. Again, it's not as big as Cherokee, but it's not nothing. And if he's missing here by 3, 4, 5 points, something like that, that's significant. So that's another sort of big size population, a big population type county there in that greater Atlanta area where I think Jones needs to be doing more. He's doing much better with the election day. Look, he's cut it now to 10 points statewide. It was 20, now cutting it to 10.
I gave you the first election day report out of Gwinnett. Our first election day report out of Cobb just came in.
Okay.
Again, it's 9 precincts.
Okay.
But, we can
Just
talk
for the
about
sake
where
of
it is. Yes. In the early vote, Jackson was leading that 64-36. In the election day vote, it's tied 50-50.
Okay. And that's, how much are we looking at here?
That's about 9 precincts that we have it as.
Well, how many votes would that be, roughly?
2,000 votes.
Okay. So tied. So Jones is here again. Let's look at it this way. Cobb County, the two-way number for Jones in the preliminary was 51. Okay, he probably wants to be at 47 at a bare minimum right here, and he's at 37 right now with a ton of vote, we think, still to come. He's currently getting 50% of the election day vote. If he continues getting 50% of the election day vote, he's going to get that 37 awfully close to 47 because there's a ton left right there. But can we just do the math, extrapolate this? Let's take us a second. Why don't we do this? So he's at 37. If he got... How many votes do we think are left in Cobb County, Adam?
Remaining 37,000.
Right, we think, this is our estimate, we think it's 37,000. If they broke them in half, it's 18.5 for each one of them, right? So Jones would be at 27.7, and Jackson would be at 34,184. That would be the final vote there. 27.7 into 61,884. It'd be 45%. So there you go. If he so that's substantial improvement for Jones with the election day vote. He got clobbered in the early vote in Cobb County by almost 30 points. He's at a tie right now with what's been counted. There's a lot more to be counted, so this number can change. But this is just to give you a sense of what he's up against right here. He's gone from 28 down in the early vote to running even with what's been counted in the election day vote so far. But he needs to get this 37 up to 47. If he continues running even, okay, the rest of the way, he'd land at 45%. So he would be short of, again, when I say 47, that is like bare minimum. You know, that's like he can win by like this much statewide. So he wants to probably be a tick above 47 at least, and he'd be at 45. Again, these things matter. In Cherokee, we showed you this. In Cobb, we're showing you this. In Henry, we're showing you this. We've already shown you this in a number of small counties, a half dozen or so. We could look at some more of them. The small counties, you know, where Jones is coming 5 points, 3 points, one short of that bare minimum number. So far, when you're looking at this, this is tightened. It's going from 20 down to 10 as the votes coming in. This is election day vote. Basically, everything that's being added right now, almost everything being added, every time you see an update here, is election day vote, and it's shrinking it. But is it shrinking it at a rate that can get Jones over the top? We're not yet seeing in any of these him put up the kind of number that can actually get this over 50%. We're seeing numbers that can bring this a lot closer, though. And we still have, you know, there's still a lot here to come, and there's still room for those numbers to materialize.
We have completed county in Habersham.
Okay. I will show that 1 minute when I check one more number that just occurred to me, and I want to, okay. Is that the right thing? That is not the right thing. What the heck was that? Okay, abandon that idea. So you said we got Habersham. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, okay, it's 6,000 votes here. Okay, so take a look here. Everything's mixed in. How does it look? The pattern here has been Jones is just missing. Jones in the preliminary, his two-way share here was 54. Again, bare minimum number is probably 50, and he finishes at 48. So again, it's not catastrophic for him to have this happen in a handful. It's every one of these that we've been looking at, these small counties, that's what's been happening. And the pace he's on in the big counties is missing by that much too. So we've yet to see the breakthrough numbers there for Jones where it's, oh shoot, I just froze this thing. You may have to come over here, Adam. I don't know the password. Sorry. And don't show the password.
I don't know if I know it either.
I pressed the sleep button or something. I'm sorry, folks. I'm really bad with technology. While Adam tries to log me back in there. Oh boy, yeah, that's my fault completely. Sorry. While he's doing that, let me just look over in Alabama to see if we got some more here. We do have some more. So, okay, it's about 2,300 votes here that have come in. Did it work? Oh, thank you. So again, this is Moore's congressional district. A lot of these, though, are just real small. Because turnout's going to be real small, too. But again, you'd expect Moore to be getting huge numbers here. You know, it's 20 votes, though, so I don't want to read into these at all. Henry County. Okay, this is a more substantial one. This is what you would expect Moore to be getting down here. We said at the start of the night, this is where we want to look, though. This area sort of around Huntsville, out by Florence. Ooh, what just happened in Florence? Yep, okay, it's 138 votes. So it's nothing. These are just very scattered numbers that we're getting in these places. So nothing yet to say too much about. I'm just going through them all, and we're seeing the same thing everywhere. Yeah, Crenshaw, but again, you're in more country there. So yeah.
We have Floyd County as a near complete.
Okay, that's good.
Governor's race.
We'll come back to this, but we got Floyd almost complete. Yeah. Okay, so we can basically use this as a complete. Remember, this is where Rome, Georgia is. Jones here, his two-way share in the. Oh my goodness. I'm going to learn to do that before the night is over. His two-way share in the preliminary was 55%. He's got just maybe a handful of votes left here. He's at 45. And again, with the pad, probably 51. Probably wants 51 or above. Short. We're seeing it over and over with Jones. It's not a blowout here for Jackson. Jones is, looking, again, we've got more statewide vote that's come in, more election day vote, now into single digits. What was 20 came down to 10, now sits at 9. Jones is closing here. He's going to close more, certainly seems like, but I've yet to see one of these counties where we've either seen a completed county or the trend that's being established with the election day vote that actually shows him going over that number or indicates he can go over and actually flip the statewide advantage to himself.
Steve, another note from our analytics team here. Yeah. They say with over 350 completely reported precincts, the data is showing that the race in the Republican governor runoff, when we're looking at, will tighten as more precincts report their election day vote.
Well, yeah, that's what we're saying.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just.
I was waiting for. I'm sorry. I thought that was my reaction. I thought there was a second part of that. I'm sorry.
That's my bullet.
No, that's me. I paused there because I thought there was more coming. Okay. So yes, yes, we're all on the same page. We expect this to tighten, but again, what we're trying to discern here from the numbers is, can it tighten enough, not for Jones to get to 47% or 48%, for Jones to get to 50.1%. Again, yet to see that kind of number in these returns, but I am looking, and Adam is looking to see what we can find. And since I've had trouble with this, I again need to use my phone, so bear with me here. Come on. Okay. Does that match up? Yes, it does. Okay, we got one more we can show you. Let's take a look up at Union County here. Okay, again, North Georgia here. Don't need the elaborate intro. The trend, Jones got 53 in the preliminary. Again, we say with the pad, probably wants 49 or above. He finishes here, 46%. The story keeps repeating itself. He's getting close to that, low end of what he needs. This is like sort of the bare minimum number, call it. And he keeps getting close with these completed counties, but he keeps coming in under it. So that we just keep seeing that trend here. 42,000, basically the margin right now, 41,000 and change there for Jackson. Where else can I show you here? Let's see where else we got. I'll find another one. Sorry, I gotta go to the phone again. This is not the easiest way to do this. I apologize. Okay, does that number match up? Yes, it does. Okay, so we can go down. Now we are in Buddy Carter's congressional district, right? This is we're in the first congressional district here. Okay, Jones completed here. Jones at 55. What was his number in the preliminary? Yeah, okay. 63 was his two-way share in the preliminary. Again, we say that 4-point pad, probably wants 59, gets 55. It just, you're seeing this, right? We're all seeing the same thing here. Where else? Significant one that I can show you. Oh, come on now. Do I have to go back to this? I gotta go back to this stupid thing again. Sorry. The problem, folks, is I didn't get my spreadsheet here that I usually use for this, so I'm getting it on my phone. Okay, let's take a look at Ware County. Again, almost complete, deep South Georgia. Jones is in the preliminary. Okay. For the first time we've seen it. Small county here in South Georgia, but 68%. That was Jones's number, the two-way share in the preliminary. He probably wants 64 or above, and look at that, he lands at 65%. So for the first time, we found the completed county where Jones is over what we would call his bare minimum number. That's the good news for Jones. The bad news, it's a small one. That's 2,500 votes total coming out of Ware County, but that is him going over that number. You know what might be easier? Instead of checking my spreadsheet every time, bear with me. We could just search the map for 95% here instead of having to check my my spreadsheet. Okay, let's take a look. This is tiny, but the share here in the preliminary for Jones was, let's call it up. Jones got, 71% was Jones's preliminary share. This is tiny, but look, he lands at, so again, is there a South Georgia thing going on here? We're waiting on more from Lowndes County. Okay, Brooks County here. Did we show you this one earlier? I'm trying to remember now. But Jones is going to win this thing with 66%. What was his share in the preliminary? 72. Probably wanted 68, gets 66. Okay, let's keep going here. The Colquitt County, his number was 71. His two-way share in the preliminary was 71. Probably wants 67, lands at 65. That old pattern kind of continues, just continuing here in South Georgia, deep South Georgia. You go to the other side, we're into Panhandle. Okay, Grady County here, completed. Jones's preliminary number, two-way share, two-way share was 63%. Probably wants 59, lands at 56. So we're seeing it kind of everywhere here, 59. Where else? We showed you Colquitt. I'm just going through these like this, folks, sort of haphazardly. Bear with me. Miller, two-way share in the preliminary for, oh my goodness, two-way share for Miller Jones in the preliminary was 68. Did I get that right? You got 68 was his two-way share? Okay. In the preliminary, Jones's share in Miller County was 68%. He goes over it. We say he wanted 64. He goes 9 points up. Boy, he needs to see that in a lot of places. Where else can he find it? Let's continue our tour here. Randolph, these are very, very small here. 43. What am I doing wrong here, Adam?
You got to click the pencil button.
43, 42. Thank you. 43, 42. Again, we're going through. These are very rural counties here. A lot of these counties, too. Okay, Macon County. This is not where the city of Macon is. What was the number? 54. Jones's number was 54 in the preliminary. He basically probably wants to win here. He just misses winning. It's 13 votes, but okay. Let's go to the other side of the state here. We showed you, we're waiting more from Richmond County. This is a big one. Effingham County, again, big. Bryan County, we're looking for 95, folks. 95 means we think all the votes are in. I'm sorry. But, it broke me, Adam. It broke me. How do I get back to it?
Use your shortcuts.
Okay. Georgia Senate Republican.
Hit 2026.
Georgia Governor.
Hit 2026.
Thank you. All right. I'm sorry. My brain is messing up on toggling between. I have to have the pen deselected to change counties, and then I keep wanting to write. That's what's happening here. My brain is screwing that up. Okay, Jones here, 51% was his share of the two-way vote in the preliminary, and what is he getting here? He's getting 47. So he's right at kind of the number he'd want here. So we've seen him go over it in one. We've seen him go over his preliminary number in one tiny county, and we've seen him hit his bare minimum number in two tiny counties, and he's missed it everywhere else. Shout at him if big counties are coming in. I'm doing this just because we're...
Yeah. Well, and I do have an update on a number you've been looking for.
Yeah.
So I went through and compiled. These are counties that are reporting any kind of election day vote at all. There's 135 counties that are reporting any kind of election day vote at all.
Okay.
And in the election day vote, Jones is winning them by 9 points.
Okay.
54-46.
Uh-huh.
And in those...
8 points.
Yeah, there's some rounding stuff, but yes, I called it 9.
Okay.
54.3 to 45.7.
Okay.
In the pre-election day vote, Jackson was winning those by 17.
17. So okay. So and how many counties are we talking?
135.
Oh, okay. So you have tallied all of the election day vote that's come in so far.
Yes.
Okay.
And given you the corresponding county number for those counties.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're going to have to say this again. Jones is leading the election day vote by 9?
Yes.
Across counties where Jackson won the early by 17?
These are all the counties that have election day vote reporting.
Right.
And so in those counties, 135 of them, he's winning the election day vote. And in the corresponding early vote for those counties is that number.
So a 26-point shift?
That's what I'm seeing. And again, some of these are partial election day votes, but that's what I was looking at.
Okay. I got to think about that one because that's not quite matching up with these county by county things we're seeing, because a 26-point shift would be, he was losing the early as
it may be thrown off by some of these partial counties, but that's
yeah. Okay, let's keep with our, just tell me too if any, Forsyth, Cherokee, Atlanta Metro, Savannah, any of the population centers, if you get any kind of an update there, shout, because otherwise I just want to we see it's come down to 8 points, 63%, right? A minute ago, 59% of the vote was counted, and it was at 9. 4 more percent has been counted. It's election day vote. It's favoring Jones. It's come down to 8. So we want to see those big, we keep telling you those big counties are really going to tell the story, because there's room for sort of noise with the small ones. But while we wait for updates from the big counties, let me just kind of continue to look through some of these, I'm looking for 95%. When it says 95, we think it means our decision desk thinks, all the votes are basically in, right? So Wilkes County, okay, we think all the votes are in. This is small, but just continue here. The two-way share for Jones in the preliminary was 63. Again, he led Jackson in the preliminary statewide. He led him 54-46. That was the two-way share between these candidates in the preliminary. So it means that he can probably afford to lose about 4 points in any given county. Jones can't off that number. So he could probably afford to get about 59% in Wilkes County, and that's what he lands with. He lands with just a fraction over 59. But again, that's not what we've been seeing him fall short in most places where we've gotten completed vote. I think we did Greene County earlier. I'm sure we did Greene County earlier, so I'll skip over that. We got Jasper County here. So again, taking a look here in the preliminary, Jones's share here. Let me select the pen. Jones got 68% of the two-way vote in the preliminary. He had 4-point cushion. He probably wants 64, and he lands just under it here. So he's getting awfully close. It's getting awfully close, but that extra piece of it is elusive and all this. Okay, Butts County is a pretty big size here. And what did he get in the preliminary? The two-way share for Jones in the preliminary here was 80. So he probably wants 76, and he gets 76. And that's 3,500 votes right there. Henry County,
Catoosa now complete.
Okay, we got all of Catoosa in, so let's go up to Northwest Georgia. This is a big one. This is pretty big. Republican side. Jones, 55%. What was his two-way share in the preliminary? It was 64%. 4%. So, if you're Jones, you probably wanted 60% of the vote in Catoosa. You've landed at 55. So, okay. 2/3 of the vote. Look at this. It's come down now. That's 7.5. It keeps, remember, 63%. This thing was 8 points between them. 66%. It's come down to 7.5%. Jones is closing. The election day vote, as we say, is favoring him. But what we're looking for, and we really still haven't seen, are signs that Jones isn't just going to get real close in this thing, get this thing up to like 48% somewhere, that he's going to go over 50. If you're Jones, you want to find some significant pieces of real estate here where you are overperforming. You're just going to continue looking for 95% counties here. Here's Lumpkin County, because again, you just want to see is there anywhere he's getting this. What was Jones's two-way share in Lumpkin County in the preliminary? It was 48%. Apply the 4-point pad. He probably wants 44 to bare minimum. He lands just south of it. Again, that's suggesting coming awfully close to 50%. He can afford to miss. He can afford to miss like this in a lot of small counties if he's making up for it in others. We just haven't seen the counties where he's making up for it yet. We just keep seeing him miss by small amounts. Where else are we looking here? It's awesome. I'm just looking for 95. Folks at home, if you shout loud enough and I miss it, maybe I'll hear you. Chattooga County. Okay, take a look here. Jones's two-way share in the preliminary. This is 95, right? 60. Probably wants at a bare minimum 56. What does he get? 53. Story continues. We just keep getting the same thing. Haralson, did we show you this before? 50%. That was Jones's two-way share. Probably wants 46. Geez, he gets 45.4. If you're Jones, this is agonizing to be going through these numbers. You're coming so close to getting there, but I'm just not seeing him go over anywhere. 95. And again, Adam, you'll shout if you got any significant same-day numbers from big counties.
Cab was the one that we got some more election day voting.
Oh,
We're
okay.
About half of the election day vote.
Great. We'll do Pike and we'll go right there. So in Pike, we're at 95%, and the Jones share in the preliminary, I didn't do it wrong, I'm learning to do this. The Jones share in the preliminary was 60. 4-point pad probably wants 56. Boom, 54. It's just uncanny, right? Every time. Okay, DeKalb County. So let's take a look here. This would be enormous on the Democratic side. It's huge enough population. It's overwhelming Democratic county, huge enough population-wise. There's a fair number of Republican votes here in a primary. So, Adam, with the caveat that we got a lot of election day still coming in, what's it trending at? So, Adam, give us the early and then what the same day is.
The early was for Jackson, 66-34.
So 32.
And the election day is trending for Jackson, 52-48.
48. So a 4-point election day. So a 28-point shift between how the early vote went and how the election day vote is going, away from Jackson towards Jones. Now, let me just get the sort of the target here. So what was Jones's share in the preliminary? Jones's share in the preliminary here was 50. Right? It was basically a tie between Jones and Jackson in the two-way vote. Jones would probably want 46. That'd be a bare minimum number. And he's running at 41, but he's doing a lot better with the election day vote, and there's a lot more to come. He's getting 48% of the election day vote. So if he keeps getting 48% with all of that vote left, this number is going to go up, but he needs that number to get up to 46. So, Adam, let me ask you, what is the expected vote in DeKalb County?
The expected total vote is 18,500, so about 6,000 remaining.
6,000 remaining.
Yeah.
6,000 remaining votes. So to the back of the envelope calculation here, right? If he continues to get, Jones does, sorry about this, folks, 48% of 6,000, he'll get an additional 2880, and then 3120 will go to Jackson. So 2880 and 79, 8038 would be the total number for Jones, right? And then 3120, 10, 6, 13 would be the number for Jackson. So that would be 18,051 total votes, 8038 into 8 613 plus 38, 651 votes. It would be, if he continues to get 48% with what's left, Jones would finish with 43%. 43% when we think at a bare minimum, he probably wants 46. And again, this is no longer are we in a small rural county where if you miss by a point or two, this is big. This is big to be missing by 3 points on top of seeming to be missing everywhere else, almost everywhere else we're looking. Again, I think if you're Jones, you need to do better than 48 with what's left. And that needs to happen in a lot of other places. Zoom out, 66% here, right? It is 7.6 points. Jones continuing to close right here. Let me just take a look inside here. Fulton County, right. Again, we got a ton of vote left in Fulton County. We got, Cobb County, Adams said we started to get the election day. These are the big sort of single pieces of real estate here. Cobb County, Gwinnett
I think we're
County.
about complete in Hall.
Okay, we got, we got Cobb County, we got Fulton, All right, Gwinnett, and we got, Adams says we're about done in Hall. So let's take a look here. Again, this is a big one.
Our expected is 94, but maybe we're not all in. I can double check on those numbers, but
we're very close to all.
Yeah.
So with the caveat that this may change it still a little bit. The number for Jones in the preliminary, the two-way share for Jones in Hall County was 47%. You probably want to be getting about 43, and he's running about 40. So again, 7.4% though. He's closed this thing. Pretty dramatically here, and there's still an awful lot of vote to come. I'm just trying to see places where he goes over that kind of bare minimum number. I want to get a stat here. Hang on a second. If you can bear with me. 9 o'clock. Are we doing I just see the clock turned. Are we doing a thing?
Not at the moment, no. Just plugging away.
Okay. So let me just go next door to Alabama because I don't, we are doing result. Okay, now we got a fair number of votes. So put a pin in Georgia for a minute. Adam will keep monitoring and shout if we got anything. It's not a ton here. I think this is going to be, we said at the start of the night, I think Madison is going to be very important. This is where the city of Huntsville is. Marshall's a pretty big size place here. We only have 5%. Limestone, this is still part of that immediate Huntsville and Huntsville metro area. More leading, I think this is substantial to have 60% of the vote. I think, the way I was kind of viewing the map here in Alabama tonight was, it's more country down here. His congressional district, this is out of his congressional district. His congressional district is down here, okay? We had seen in the preliminary that Hudson put up his big numbers in here, Birmingham metro area. And the north was where a third candidate was from, and it was sort of the most up for grabs voters were going to be here. And this is sort of the heart of that area. And so, Limestone County here, we got 60% of the vote, and Moore is leading there by 12 points. Now, we don't have in Alabama the same kind of huge, they don't really have early voting the way they do in Georgia. This really is, we don't have these huge swings in vote type here. So 60% there, I think maybe more meaningful than 60% when you're looking at some of these counties in Georgia. So I'm just kind of looking around here. Morgan County, again, just sort of outside Huntsville here. These are encouraging numbers if you're Moore. Now, if you're Hudson, holy cow, this is the kind of thing, we say those are encouraging numbers with your Moore, but if you're Hudson, if you can win landslide margins in places like Jefferson County is going to produce almost 10% of the votes tonight. That's a scattering, but that's interesting. St. Clair County, these are places, again, where Hudson had done very well in the preliminary. Let me put it this way: we're talking about these two-way shares we're doing in Georgia. I hope it makes sense because I thought it was the best way to monitor these things as they came in. We did the same thing here in this Alabama race. Let me just show it to you quickly here. In the preliminary, right, statewide, okay, Moore got 39% of the vote. Hudson, 25.6% of the vote. What that worked out to was if you just took his votes and his votes, right, and you said those were the only votes cast, what percentage of all these votes did Moore get? What was the difference between Moore and Hudson? So in the two-way head-to-head, it was 60-40 for Moore over Hudson. That was the two-way number, right? Meaning that this is that version of what we just did in Georgia, that in any given county, Moore probably has a pad of about 10 points. That might be the way to kind of look at these numbers, right? So from that two-way share. So let me go back to the primary now. So if you apply that 10-point rule, right, like up here in Limestone County, the biggest one where we got the most share of the vote, Moore's two-way share here was 60, meaning he probably wants to win it. He wants 50, I'd say, is what he wants out of Limestone County. And there he is with 60% of the vote in, running at 56%. That's not an insubstantial number of votes, if that's a word. Is insubstantial a word? We got 11% in Mobile County. The number here, this is interesting, the number here, the two-way share for Moore in the preliminary over Hudson was 73. He probably wants 63. He's over it, but he's not that much over it. That's an encouraging number if you're Hudson, a somewhat encouraging number at least. Again, Birmingham, I'll do the number here fine, you know. The number, it's only 2%, so take it with a grain of salt here. But the two-way share for Moore against Hudson was 36, meaning he probably wants 26. He's at 28, but it's just a small share here. This is a big one. Shelby County is the big suburban Birmingham county here. Huge source of Republican votes. That'll be very significant here from Hudson's going to have to win that big. But again, that's about 12% right there. Just to get, if you're Moore, you're probably a little more encouraged in these numbers than Hudson, but they're very scattered. We got more to. I keep saying it's like a pun. More to come. Let's go back here to the Georgia gubernatorial race, which is now it's 71%. And again, that gap between them keeps shrinking. It's down to 7. Did we get anything notable there, Adam? While I was going through that,
Muskogee's complete and Richmond is near complete.
Okay, let's do Muskogee. Columbus, Georgia is here. Just go to the other side. We'd be at Phoenix City, Alabama. You got Jones at 47% of the vote here. So Jones's two-way share here in the preliminary was 48. He'd probably want 44. He exceeds it. Okay, that's the biggest county we've seen where Jones is hitting his number. Jones is exceeding his bare minimum number in Muskogee County. You said we got. You said we had another one. I forgot what you said we got.
Richmond.
We got Richmond.
Complete, yeah.
We're close here, and this is big. So take a look. Jones at 46. Two-way share was 50, and he's 40, so 46 would be his bare minimum. He's 0.3 of a point over that, and you still got some election day vote coming here. Jones may just hit his bare minimum number here. He's got a chance to there. So we are seeing a couple places now where he's done that. I was looking at here, Warner Robins. This is the Houston County. This is some population there. 76 down by Valdosta. Did we do Glenn, McIntosh? 92. I want to get 95s. I'm going to just. Do we have counties, Adam, where you've gotten? Where we've got a big share of same-day vote, but not complete. We did that in DeKalb, we did that in Cherokee, we did that. Forsyth, what do we got in Forsyth? Now we're still, Cherokee, we're still, any of those like that we got substantial election day, but we're, big counties where we got substantial election day is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Cherokee, I think we're at half of the election day.
Yeah, how's it, just tell, I can't remember if we checked in with this earlier, but tell us how Cherokee's breaking, because this is a huge one.
So the early vote was breaking for Jackson 65-35, and the election day is breaking for Jackson 51-49. So,
okay, so Jones is running at 49. All right, okay, Jones is two-way, this is the big one. Jones got 49 in the preliminary, in the two-way vote. So I think he wants 45. Coming into the night, he wanted 45. If he's missing these numbers in a lot of places, he wants more than 45 in a place like Cherokee. I think it's probably safe to say he wants 40. He wants more than 45. But we'll use 45 because that was our target at the start of the night. He's running at 40.7, and he's getting 49%. Right. So what's the expected? What's the remaining vote in Cherokee?
In Cherokee, we have it in here at 11,000. Yeah, we have it in at 11,000.
What were you about to say?
I don't know. I feel like some of these numbers may come down.
Right.
But yeah.
That's important that's an important point for folks. Right. Our expected vote, it's a moving target.
Yes.
Because we're just seeing how these things go. We're just trying to give you a sense of what the trend is here, because you know what Jones is up against here, if he's going to have any chance. So we think about 11,000 votes remaining. He's running just under 50,000 of them. So 50% of them. So, let's say let's say 5,400. Let's say Jones got 5,400 remaining and Jackson got 5,600 of the remaining votes. That's a pretty reasonable approximation. Jones would be at 15,654 then, and Jackson would be at 20. What do we say? 5,600. We say so. 19, 20, 2554 would be the Jackson number. So for a total of 36, 188. And the share of that for Jones, 654 into 36, 188 would be 40. Yeah, okay, right. So at this clip that he's doing the same day at, Jones would land at 43%. He would land at 43%. We kind of think his bare minimum is 45, and if he's missing in a lot of places, he probably wants a little more than 45. It's just that story is really getting familiar here.
Yeah, I think echoing this story, I can read you the latest analysis from the decision desk. Burt Jones currently needs to get 59% of the remaining vote to catch Rick Jackson. While the race is still tightening, Jones is currently not getting what he would need in the remaining election day vote to pass Jackson.
Okay, that's right. So we have alignment, is what we're saying. But that's okay. That's good to know. So that's what our folks at the decision desk are seeing. And yeah, I mean, look, now we're at 75%. It's come down to 6.4%. The difference between Jackson and Jones. This has been a real interesting one because I was surprised that Jackson did so well with the early vote. I expected Jackson to do, as I said, do better with it. I was surprised, and that initial early vote number was so big for Jackson. I was kind of thinking, I was looking at that, and I was thinking of that tweet from Trump Jr., Donald Trump Jr., where he said either way MAGA wins. And I was thinking, boy, did they see polls that just where Jackson was just blowing the doors open late? That's what I was starting to think when I saw that early vote. But Jones really, his voters have shown up here in the election day vote. It's not I don't need to describe it because I've shown it to you, right? You see the same thing I'm seeing. It's just he's coming agonizingly close if you're him to get to reach in these targets, but he's not reaching them. He's really not reaching them in any substantial place that we've been looking at. Right now it's advantage Jackson with a quarter of the vote, still to come. We'll kind of just take a look here, around the Atlanta metro area. I don't think we've got big new votes anywhere. Cherokee did, as you see, go up to 80 while we got more votes there in Cherokee County.
We got another 3,500 votes in Cherokee.
Yeah.
We got another 8,000 in Cobb.
Oh.
We're complete in Douglas and.
Oh, okay. I got the wrong paper, but that. Okay. Wait. So, we're complete in Douglas? Can I show Douglas? Can you calculate the Cobb numbers while I show Douglas?
Yeah.
Okay. So in Douglas County here, right? This is one of those kind of growing fringe Atlanta metro. Okay. Anyway, Jones 43%. We think all the vote is in. Two-way share for Jones in the preliminary was 50, meaning 46 would probably be his bare minimum, and 43. He misses it by a couple of points. He's got to compensate for these in play. He's not compensating for it. Cobb County, probably the biggest source of votes in any county in the state. 54%. We're getting election day. Adam, give us the early, and do you have the election day?
Yeah.
So far?
The
Yep.
early was 64-36 for Jackson.
Yep.
And the election day, we have about a quarter of our projected election day, and it's 51-49 for Jackson.
Okay, +2. So, okay, we'll do our fun little math game again here. What is the expected remaining vote in Cobb County?
29,000 is the number we have in here.
29,000. So, do this again. We have 449 times 14. Why don't we just say it's 49-51? Let's be generous to Jones with the projection and say it's just a tie. It's not 49-51, it's a tie. They each get 14.5 of the remaining, right? Okay, so it puts Jones at 27,654, and it puts Jackson 14.5, 34,284. Okay, for a combined total of 61,938. So the share for Jones, being a little generous, would be okay. Oh, why did I delete that? 45. Adam.
Yes.
Hold on. What did I just deleted important stuff. 49. Sorry. Okay. I got it now. Never mind. I got it. The two-way share to vote in Cobb. Remember, this is as big as they get. The two-way share to vote for Jones in the preliminary was 51. Okay, meaning probably 47 is the bare minimum number. Running right here, ton of vote left. If he gets half of it, he probably lands at 45%. Probably lands at. It's so stubbornly consistent what we're seeing. We think the bare minimum number there is probably 47. He's at a rate now at a clip where he would get 45. And I say it matters in Cobb County to miss by 2 points in the scheme of missing almost everywhere we've looked tonight. And that, I mean, again, you're in the heart of the population, in the voting population here in this primary. That's the pace he's on. Again, needs to step it up.
We're about half in the Oklahoma governor's race, if you want to take a detour over there.
Let's, holy cow, we got a close one here, yeah. Again, so now the significance here is Mazie is the Trump-endorsed candidate here. This is now a race, really, it's looking like this is going to be between Drummond and Mazie. I'm just looking around here. Well, now this is substantial, okay. Well, it is and it isn't. We got 14% of the vote. Tulsa and these are going to be your two biggest vote-producing counties in the state. Oklahoma County, home of, you guessed it, Oklahoma City, and then Tulsa County. Tulsa County is sort of the base. Tulsa is the base of Mazie. And you can see he's leading there. He's only leading by 3 points with 14% counted. Yeah, a little bit more counted, but still a ton to come in both counties. And in Oklahoma City area, Drummond is leading. See, we go down Cleveland County. These are the other sort of kind of population centers here. Let's see here. Drummond leading Mazie. The question is who's coming in second here. Mazie, yeah. So the significance here is, as we say, this is a Trump-endorsed candidate. We have 53% of the vote, and we got a squeaker here. So this is another one where Trump won the Senate. His endorsement won the Senate primary, a Senate runoff in Georgia earlier. His candidate is in trouble in that Georgia gubernatorial primary. For everything we've been showing you right there, and his candidate in Oklahoma is trailing narrowly, but with more than half the vote counted there so far. That's an interesting interesting set of results there. Let's take a look, too, before I forget. I keep meaning to check in. Look, the polls have been closed here for a while. We got nothing. We got nothing out of D.C.
I don't know if you also want to look at that congressional race.
We might as well show folks. Well, no, that's California. That's much later. And we got, this is the first district seat in Oklahoma, Republican primary here, keeping an eye on as well. But I want to go back to that governor's race in Georgia. 6 points now.
We just got some new results in Paulding. I think we're about complete in Paulding.
Okay, so that's a pretty big piece of the puzzle. So let's take a look here. Again, we showed you this earlier, but here's how it lands. 51% was Jones's. 51% was Jones's two-way share in the preliminary. 47% is probably his, lowest possible number. 44% is where he lands here. And again, there's a lot of votes here, right? Look at that. Almost 15,000 votes, a little bit less than 15,000 votes cast right there. So he's going to continue to tighten this, but we're not seeing anywhere of size where he's putting up the kind of number that could put him past, Rick Jackson. So you got an interesting situation in Oklahoma, and you got an interesting situation in Georgia, gubernatorial races where Trump-endorsed candidates are in some degree of trouble right now. Now, keep in mind, you did have Donald Trump Jr. saying, either way, MAGA wins in this. And Jackson has tried to align himself, has publicly done nothing but align himself with Trump. And maybe it is I've thought about this as these primaries have kind of played out here, these Republican primaries. I've started to think there's a distinction in the type of Trump endorsement and its impact, where if Trump is endorsing against a candidate, right? Like, here's an incumbent who has been, disloyal to me, to my movement. I want this incumbent out of office. That seems to pack a giant punch, right? He was able to get Massey out in Kentucky. He was able to get a whole slate of Republican state senators out in Indiana. He was able to get Bill Cassidy out in a landslide in Louisiana, United States Senator. He was able to take out John Cornyn at the last minute. He endorsed against Cornyn. Now, a lot of people say Cornyn was already on his way to losing, so the exact sort of cause of that defeat and the scale of that defeat. But I think Trump certainly contributed to the scale of that defeat because it was enormous. So I think when Trump goes against a candidate, the impact is sizable. The dynamic you're seeing here, where Trump's candidates are having some trouble tonight, Jones versus Jackson, Trump has not come into this race and gone against Jackson. He endorsed Jones. He endorsed him early. Then Jackson got in the race. And Jackson, as I say, has spent a ton of money and has aligned himself with Trump and the Trump move. He's running as sort of a grassroots conservative activist, populist conservative type in this race, so much that he got Trump's son, Don Jr., to say nice words about him on the eve of the primary. There it is. It's killing time and it came up. NBC News is projecting that Rick Jackson has won the Republican gubernatorial primary in Georgia. He will advance to the general election, where he will face Democrat, the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms. She won the primary without a runoff last month. That will be a closely watched gubernatorial contest this November. In a statement, he will see it as a prelude to 2028, when Georgia will be one of the centerpiece battleground states we expect in the presidential election. Again, Rick Jackson, self-funding candidate, businessman, got in this campaign relatively late, running against the Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones, who had aligned himself very closely with Donald Trump. Jones had done that particularly in the immediate wake of the 2020 presidential election, when Trump made claims about Georgia's election being, in his view, he claimed illegitimate. Republican leaders in Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, stood up to Trump then. Jones took Trump's side back then. Trump rewarded that with an endorsement of Jones. But in the end, Jackson was very competitive here. And as I said, on the eve of the election, Donald Trump Jr. put out a statement where he said this is not an endorsement of Jackson, but it sure read like one, or it certainly read like they had made peace with Jackson winning this primary, and they seemed quite fine with it. Jackson had aligned himself, tried very hard to align himself with Trump and not make his candidacy seem like an affront to Trump. And clearly, it seems, has succeeded with that. So Rick Jackson wins this primary over Donald Trump's endorsed candidate. What we saw earlier in the night in Georgia on the Senate side, Mike Collins endorsed in the final week of this campaign by Donald Trump over Derek Dooley, who'd been endorsed by Brian Kemp, the governor who was at odds with Trump over his claims about the 2020 election. Dooley was the candidate of Kemp. Collins got the Trump endorsement. Collins ends up winning this thing. As you can see, we talked about this, the election day vote that gets reported out late, just much more pro-Collins than the early vote, and he's ended up winning this thing by a solid double-digit margin. You can expect probably that vote, that margin to increase a bit as the remaining vote comes in. So Trump goes 1 for 2 in his endorsements in Georgia, but I think we saw from that tweet from Don Jr. in the last 48 hours, there'll be an attempt, certainly by the Trump side, to say they effectively went for 2 for 2. I leave it to you to judge what you make of that. And over in Alabama now, sort of attention shifts over here in the Senate race. We got a third of the vote in here, in the Republican runoff here. Barry Moore running with the endorsement of Trump against Jared Hudson. The dynamic here, I think, is very similar to what we just described in that Georgia gubernatorial contest, where Hudson, he's a former Navy SEAL, he has run this campaign as a populist, conservative, sort of activist-style candidate, an outsider. That's how he's portrayed himself. Very similar, I think, to what Jackson did over in Georgia. While he does not have the Trump endorsement, he's done nothing but try to align himself with Trump, again, to try to frame his candidacy not at all as some kind of attack on Trump. And as a result, I think Trump's involvement in this race has really been, he endorsed Moore relatively early in this thing, but this has not been one of these endorsements where Trump has come in and said, you better stop Hudson. I don't want Hudson. Hudson's a bad guy. So it's a very similar dynamic. We're going to dive into this one because this is taking center stage right now, but they did just tell me we got...
Yeah, we're going to do another check-in with News Now in 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes now.
Okay, to do the Georgia call. Okay, so you heard that, folks. We're going to do a check-in. So why don't we do this? It's inside of 2 minutes. We will pick up Alabama and really take the temperature there after this, because, again, this is sort of taking center stage. We are not forgetting that in Oklahoma, only 1,300 votes right now, separating Gentner Drummond, the state attorney general, from Mike Mazzei, the Trump-endorsed candidate here. Chip Keating, the son of the former governor, running in third place right there. Again, this is another place where that Trump endorsement, it'd be interesting if there were 2 tonight that Trump lost with his endorsement. We could talk about this on the other side too. There was some controversy around the circumstances of the Trump endorsement here for Mazzei that got quite a bit of attention in Oklahoma. I don't know if that's affected this. We could talk about that on the other side, but we're keeping an eye on that. We are keeping an eye on, but getting nothing out of Washington, D.C. I don't know if we will, but that's going on right now. We're inside of a minute to this, so we're going to do. Let me go back to the Georgia Senate primary. We're going to do this News Now hit, and we'll pick up because, folks. Okay, and folks, there may be a bit of an intro before coming into this, so bear with us. In fact, I'm going to just take some water here because I can't wait to do Alabama. Oh, okay. So, folks, they're actually, I don't know if you can hear the program or have. They're doing a bit of a intro, and they're going to go to a reporter. So I'm going to jump over to Alabama. We will come back to this for the hit, but we might as well start diving into it because remember, what we were looking at there in Georgia was just that target number, right? Based on how the two-way vote went in the preliminary. And again, yeah, they're doing a reporter. I have them in my ear, so if I'm a little halting in what I'm saying here, it's because I'm also listening to a program while I talk to you. So again, in the preliminary in this race, Moore of the two-way vote between Moore and Hudson, Moore got 60, Hudson got 40, as we say, meaning that in any given county, Moore can probably afford to lose about 10 points from whatever number he got in the two-way in that county. That's roughly what we're looking at as a benchmark for how this election is playing out. So let's take a look. You see Moore's leading overall. That seems like good news for him. Let's see if that actually matches up, though, at the county-to-county level. Because, for instance, Jefferson County is a very, very big piece of real estate. We expect it to be very pro-Hudson. We don't really have much of the way of vote right there. Shelby County is a big piece of real estate. We also expect this to be good for Hudson. We don't have much out of here. I'm looking for places where we got, okay, Talladega County, we got some substantial vote right here. The two-way share for Moore in the primary here was 57. 10-point pad, he probably wants 47 as a bare minimum number. He's ahead of that number. He's substantially ahead of that number in Talladega County. Let's continue looking for places. I'm looking for more than 22 if we got some places with, places of some population too. But maybe beggars can't be choosers. Okay, here we go. 62%. It's small, but the share in Coosa County for Moore in the preliminary was 58, meaning 48 is probably his bare minimum. Look at that, he's right at 58 right here. That's two counties that we've seen. We got some, okay, Montgomery, this is big. Okay, state capital. By the way, it's beautiful. The grounds of the state capital are beautiful. I was there not too long ago. I was really impressed by it. Okay, 2/3 of the vote here. Moore running at 66. He got 71 in the preliminary, the two-way. So he wants 61 sort of as a bare minimum number. It just changed as he saw more vote got counted, but he's running above. He's running 4.5 points above that. There's still some vote to come. But yeah, that's better right now for Moore than it is for Hudson. 71, okay. The two-way share here for Moore was The two-way share here for Moore was 71, meaning his kind of 61 would kind of be his bare minimum, running at 64, 71% in. Remember, this is not one of those states with an early vote, election day vote split. They're all kind of counting the same type of vote as the night progresses, so maybe not expecting the same kind of swings you see in Georgia. Okay, Dallas County here. We got the two-way share here for Moore in the preliminary was 76. This is where Selma, Alabama is. And again, I don't even do the numbers here. He's running a point above his two-way share. So these are so far pretty encouraging numbers if you're Moore. It means Hudson's going to have to blow the doors off around here. They finished with it. I'm just listening to the show too, folks. Oh, they got another question. Okay, Huntsville. I've been hyping Huntsville. Let's look at Huntsville. I think we've got a little bit more vote here in Madison County. This is where most of Huntsville is. The two-way share here was more. The two-way share here was Moore 61 in the preliminary. 51 would be his sort of bare minimum. He's well over that in a hugely significant, hugely important county. I really thought this one was going to be kind of the for those regional differences, Moore, Hudson, who knows? Well, that's a great number if you're Moore. If you're Moore, I think you're a lot more happy with what you're seeing than Hudson. Okay, they're coming to me. They're just finishing up with the reporter. I don't know if you can hear this, folks, but it's coming over here.
Data analyst Steve Kornacki at the big board tonight. Steve, how did Collins pull off this win in this Georgia Senate race?
Yeah, I mean, look, in the Georgia Senate race, I think you could see the contours here geographically for Derek Dooley here were very limited. Look at it's that pink is the Dooley number, and where do you see the pink? You really only see it in one spot on the map, and that's the immediate Atlanta metro area here. And then everything else from the northwest corner of the state to deep South Georgia out to the Atlantic Ocean. What are you seeing? You're just seeing that Collins shade of red. There was a geographic breadth of support for Collins here that simply wasn't matched by Dooley. What this really showed us was what we saw when these candidates ran in the preliminary about a month ago, and that was that Dooley was doing well with a certain type of voter. He was doing well with more kind of professional class, higher income, college-educated, suburban metro area. That's the Atlanta metro area. That's the type of voter he was doing well with. By the way, that's the type of voter that we tend to see in these Republican primaries that's willing to put a little bit of distance between themselves and Trump. And remember, Trump had endorsed Collins in this race, not Dooley. Dooley was endorsed by Brian Kemp, the governor. So those are the kinds of voters we expected Dooley to do well with, and he did do well with them. What he failed to do was to expand that support to the small cities, to the rural areas, anywhere else around the state. And Collins certainly, I think, powered in part by that late endorsement from Donald Trump, really cleaned up in those areas outside the Atlanta metro area. So again, this number here, votes are still being tabulated here. The vote that's coming in right now is the election day vote. That tends to be the most sort of MAGA-aligned pro-Trump vote. So I think that Collins number might even tick up some more still as that final vote comes in.
And there are also several competitive House races as well, right?
Yeah, well, those were resolved in the preliminary. This is the runoff here. So the action tonight, really, in Georgia, was this race here for the Senate, and then this gubernatorial race, obviously. Which, again, the significance here. We just called this a few minutes ago. Here, Rick Jackson defeating Burt Jones, Trump's endorsed candidate, losing. As you were just talking about there. Mm-hmm. Bit of a surprise. Although certainly it seemed like the Trump folks were trying to get a little bit on board the Jackson bandwagon as this thing in the final days of this campaign.
Yeah, those late endorsements are always interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the Alabama Senate runoff. What are you seeing in those results so far? Yeah,
they're really starting to come in now. Now we're up to about 40% of the vote in right here. Congressman Barry Moore against former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson in the runoff here. Moore running with the endorsement of Donald Trump. And so far, these numbers, I think if you're Moore, you're a lot happier with these numbers than Hudson. You see the Hudson color right here, that tan, whatever exactly you want to call it, around the Birmingham metro area. This is a bit similar to what I just described with Derek Dooley in that Republican Senate race over there in Georgia, this sort of metro area right around big city Birmingham here. That was Hudson's base in the preliminary. You see that's where he's doing his best numbers tonight. I have not seen him in the returns tonight expand on that. We didn't expect him to do much in South Alabama because that's where Barry Moore's congressional district was, but up here, especially by Huntsville, Huntsville, these two counties right here, this is where I think Hudson had his opportunity and really needs to be doing a lot better. I can show you what's happening there. Needs to be doing better than that in a place like this is a very big county. Needs to be doing better than that. Half the vote counted right there. Limestone County, almost all the vote counted right there. Hudson running behind. This was sort of the sort of politically competitive territory. I'm not quite sure Hudson's getting the numbers he wants to see there yet, but there are still some opportunities for him. Specifically, I would say Birmingham here, Jefferson County, we have almost no vote in. This is a huge, city of Birmingham, it's huge. And then these are the big, giant suburbs right outside Birmingham. We got nothing from here yet. So what Hudson has to do is he has to put up some monster numbers in these two places as they come in, because so far what's been coming in is, I think, more friendly to Moore than to Hudson.
Interesting. Yeah, those numbers trickling in. Also, out here in California, there's a special election, Swalwell's seat. Should we expect one candidate to break out of the fray? Because almost a dozen names on that list, right?
Yeah, look, this is, and again, California top two primary. So you got Democrats, you got Republicans all on the same ballot. The rule here is if somebody does clear 50% tonight, that person will win this. This is, again, just for what would end up being a few months in Congress. It's to fill the remaining months on the term that Eric Swalwell was elected to in 2024. Swalwell, remember, he was leaving the seat anyway, but then when he got hit with that scandal, he resigned from Congress altogether. And so there's a special election just to fill the remaining months on the seat. That's what this is here. This is an overwhelmingly Democratic district. Aisha Wahab here is running in a separate election for the full term, had finished first in the primary for that, a couple weeks ago. So I think he's expected to lead the way here tonight. The question is, 50%, we should get the 50% to actually win this thing. She did not get 50% in that preliminary, so I don't think that's quite expected tonight, but it is possible.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the mountain for tonight. Steve Kornacki, thank you so very much. That's going to conclude this NBC.
Okay, so folks, I don't know about you, but I had enough California in the last few weeks. It's a maddening state. Let's get out of California. Let's get out of California and let's go back to Alabama, because that is where the action is right. Alabama, and we do want to keep in mind here, Oklahoma. I mean, 1,268 votes. That's the margin right now. Drummond over Mazie. Again, Mazie, Trump-endorsed candidate here, continues to trail very narrowly in this race. 23% there in Tulsa. I'm using these as two gauges. There is more that's come in. Again, these are the two biggest counties by far. There's more that's come in here from Oklahoma County, where Drummond has the advantage, there by a few points over Mazie. Mazie's got the advantage by a few in Tulsa. Again, this is sort of Mazie's political basis here, so I was actually kind of expecting him to be doing a bit better here. But let's see if that number improves for him, because that's an obvious opportunity for him. It's an obvious opportunity for him as that remaining vote comes in there. But
and there is a runoff dynamics in Oklahoma. I can redirect you to some of the most recent results in Alabama. Coleman County, we just got some results in. Marshall, Baldwin, and Madison were some of the most recent reporting counties.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Marshall County. Okay, now this is the number here. This is one of the few places that Steve Marshall, the Attorney General, won. Not a surprise, because this was his political base was up here. Marshall County, is big, right outside Huntsville here. One of the few that Steve Marshall had won in the preliminary. The two-way share of the vote here for Moore in that preliminary was 51%, meaning, again, we think he's got about a 10-point pad off that for 41, and he's running north of that number. So while that is a Hudson lead right there, with 80% of the vote counted in a very big county, that's and there it just ticked up to 82, as you can see. Moore is running ahead of that sort of bare minimum number, a fair bit ahead of that. He's right between what he got in the two-way share in the preliminary and what his bare minimum number there, I think would be. So again, that continues to be the numbers we've seen here that we've been crunching so far have been like this largely for Moore. You said Coleman, we also got some from too. Yeah, we're at 70% here. And now this was a Hudson County in the preliminary. So the Moore number here, his two-way share was 41, right? So again, even with the pad he might have in the two-way share, he probably won 31. He's running above that 41% number. So again, that's actually, while Hudson leads there, Hudson might want to be winning that by more. If not, he's got to offset it somewhere. We got Morgan County here. We got most of the vote in here. We got 2/3. The two-way share of the vote here in the preliminary was 59 for Moore. And remember, he had that big pad, and he's running very close to the 59 right there. Limestone, we've shown you, we're getting close to everything in Limestone. The Moore number was 60 in the preliminary. We got a big pad here for him, though. He's running at 56, so he's still pretty comfortably ahead of that number. We showed you Montgomery. We got Baldwin. This is now you're in Moore's congressional district here. And it's 43%, but just to give you a sense of it. Now here, okay, and this is big. This is, one of the biggest counties in the state population-wise. Look, Moore's two-way share was 74 here, down to 65. That's sort of, he's basically at the bare minimum of what he wants out of a county like this. So this is a place where can Hudson overperform here with the remaining vote? This is the kind of place where Hudson would want to overperform by a substantial margin, because there's a lot of votes right there. Next door, Mobile County, about the same size. We got about a third of the vote here. Again, the two-way share for Moore in the preliminary here was 73. So down to, again, that's at the very low end of what he'd want to get out of there. Are we still at like 2% in Jefferson? We're at 4% in Jefferson. When we get this up to 20 or something, let's talk. Walker County here, two-way share for Moore in the preliminary was 49, down to 46. But Tuscaloosa County, Roll Tide. We got half the vote in. Again, this was a Hudson County in the preliminary, but it was narrow. Yeah, this was basically like a 50-50. Moore's two-way share was 49, and he's landed at 46. You see, we are seeing a pattern here. Let's just go through Moore's district, make sure he's kind of hitting numbers here. These are all in Moore's. That's interesting. We got about half the vote in Covington, and Moore got 79% of the two-way here. He's under 47%. He's under. We're in the Wiregrass region. I love the name. Coffee County, Moore got 87 of the two-way, 79. You know, he's getting what he wants there, but not much more. Dale County, 86 was his preliminary, 74. That would be under a target for him there. This is his congressional district. 72% in Henry County, 70% 75.6. 84 was his two-way number, so he's down about all he can afford to be down off that number. He rolled up just monster number. Okay, we got, it's small, but we got 100%. This is basically all the vote here. 90 was Moore's two-way number here. 81 is where he lands tonight. So these are not, these are numbers where Hudson is kind of holding his own in Moore's district. We showed you Covington, 42 in Escambia County. Pensacola, Florida would be right down here. This is the Panhandle. 65%. Again, this is only 42%, but to give you a sense, 77 was his number. He'd be. So there's Hudson is holding his own deep in the heart of Moore country. The population centers that we're getting, though, the sort of high population areas right around like Huntsville. Let's see if we got more vote from there. We're 52%. I think we just got more from Huntsville. I think this was at like 35 the last time we checked, right? I may be remembering that wrong. 61, right? Moore's share here, two-way share in the preliminary was 61. That's a good number for Moore because he's close to that number and he had a lot of pad. Limestone we showed you. See, he's close. 60. He's down. Yeah, he's 4 points off. He's got more pad than that, we think. Morgan, we showed you. Yep. We showed you Marshall. Did we get more from Marshall? I feel like we got more since we checked in. But Moore's 51 was two-way. He's at 47 right now. This is going to be really interesting. It's gigantic, big suburbs of, think of like Hoover, Alabama. Huge Republican bastion here. The two-way share here in the preliminary was 55-45. Hudson over Moore. This is Shelby County. This is one of the reasons why Hudson was able to make it into the runoff. He did so well in this part of the state. He got such good numbers. So again, seeing what we're seeing up here sort of in North Alabama, I think Hudson probably wants to be getting better. He obviously needs to be doing better than that, but he needs to be doing substantially better than that. I think when Shelby County comes in, Hudson wants to be getting like 2/3 of the vote. Let's see if he can do that, right? Like Jefferson County, where we're at 4% right now. I think Hudson wants to be over 70% of the vote here, 75, something like. He needs something kind of obscene out of there. Those are the kinds of numbers. Again, now this is where he was posting giant numbers in the preliminary, but I think he's going to need something like that to offset what we're starting to see in North Alabama. Let's. I
want to go back to the state.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. So he won't get it. Our decision desk has called it. Barry Moore wins the Republican runoff in Alabama, and he will be the overwhelming favorite in the general election here. More significantly, I think, for our purposes, we came into the night saying that we were testing Donald Trump's endorsement. Trump endorsed Moore early in this campaign, and while Hudson tried to align himself close with Trump publicly, Trump's endorsement carries the day here. Moore wins this runoff and again becomes the prohibitive favorite in the general election. This is the seat being vacated by Tommy Tuberville, who's running for governor. And so again, we take a look at Trump's record tonight in these races. The Senate race in Georgia, Trump's candidate Mike Collins wins there. The governor's race, Trump's candidate Burt Jones loses there. The Alabama Senate runoff, Trump's candidate Barry Moore, we project will win there. The Oklahoma governor's race looks like we will head to a runoff, but Trump's candidate trailing there, the state attorney general Gentner Drummond. So to be continued, it would appear, is where we're headed in Oklahoma. Looks like Gantner, Drummond, and Mazie to be the two for a runoff there. So a 2-1-1 record for Trump, I would say. 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 that is unresolved right here. And Adam, let's see, that Alabama call came a little sooner than I was expecting. I will be honest right there.
You were prepping us for a
Well,
long night.
I wanted to see. I was wondering if he could get some giant number out of here, if that could offset it. But the damage to Hudson in places like Huntsville, I think, was just too much. Was clearly too much. We went through all the numbers up here. Florence, he was just not. Hudson needed to knock more than 10 points off that Moore preliminary margin. And as we were seeing, Moore was very close to that preliminary 2-way margin in those places. So it created too big of an advantage for him. And the race was called. And with that.
News Now wants to do one more check-in.
Okay.
But with that, yeah, those are our races for tonight.
So folks, what we're going to do, we'll do one final check-in. Are they coming right now? 3 minutes. Why don't we, I hope you'll bear with us. I thank you for being part of this, as always. We got 3 minutes. Adam, do we have any comments? Do we have any questions? Do we have? Go ahead.
Yeah,
read anything.
Let me take a look.
This is your chance, folks. Fill it with anything.
We did have a comment earlier. There's a lot of fans of the song "Stars Fell" on Alabama.
Fell, right? I didn't know if it was present or past tense.
But yes, I have to go listen to that after the show today.
You've heard it, you just don't know it. 2 minutes. Put the comments in, folks. If it's negative, say it. It's okay.
People asking about D.C. No results out of D.C. We got a bulletin from there that folks were still waiting to vote, and they were waiting to release the results until everybody had voted. What will coverage be like on midterm night? We're going to do all these races plus more. I'm excited for that one.
Yes, we are going to do all these races. We can confirm that.
What will the House margin be after the election?
Oh,
that's a question.
Well, I don't answer that. I don't make predictions. Then I'll look like a fool.
We have a question here about Maine's 2nd District.
Right.
I know they're running through their process now. I think we're supposed to get another update from them tomorrow.
Any reactions to tonight? Did they have any?
Not yet.
Can I look at these? How do I find them?
They're in the YouTube chat.
Wait, how do I get? The link came in. Maybe I should go into the YouTube chat. They sent me the link in my email. Let me find it.
Yes, it's the same link you've been promoting.
That's a good point.
On your social media feeds.
It's a very good point. But 30 seconds. I found the link. Thank you, Stephen Adams. So far, the Oklahoma. They're on the Oklahoma minimum wage. Good job, guys. Shocker and GA gubernatorial primary. Thank you, folks. They got a long intro, so I'm going to. Very intrigued that both of Kemp's endorsed candidates lost. Yeah, for Democrats to give us a preview of the next key. Oh yeah, next key race is next week's primary. Yes, well that's what I'd like to do. I want to just do that quick on the other side. We got this News Now update. So folks, we'll do this hit. Please stay with us because I just want to talk to you about what's next, and then we'll be dismissed for the night. Can they hear this, the YouTube folks?
I don't know.
folks, just so you know, they're reading an intro, and then we'll talk on the other side of this.
Who's chief data analyst Steve Kornacki over at the big board. Steve, what propelled Moore to victory here?
Yeah, I think one way of looking at this map here in the Senate race is roughly there were kind of three regions here. South Alabama is where Barry Moore is from. It's where his congressional district is from. And, you know, he was winning it. He was winning it by a solid margin. Hudson actually didn't, all things considered, do that badly down here, but this was a big area for Moore. You do see Hudson doing well here in the Birmingham area, and still some more votes to come there. But this was always going to be sort of the area that decided it, North Alabama. If you said Moore's going to get South Alabama, Hudson's going to do well around Birmingham, who's going to win the Huntsville area? Huntsville's a big, big population center in Alabama, and it's only getting bigger. And I can just show you what's happened up here. This is Madison County, where most of Huntsville is, and Moore's winning it. He's winning it solidly. Go next door here, Limestone County. This is also core Huntsville area. And again, it's double digits for Moore. You could even extend this out to where the city of Florence is. And again, so this sort of population centers here in North Alabama carrying the day for Moore. And I think that was sort of like, again, if the South was going to be for Moore and the Birmingham area was going to be for Hudson, who was going to win Huntsville in the North? And we've gotten our answer. And I think that answered the election for you, too.
Yeah, looking forward to November. I mean, does whoever wins a Democratic primary in Alabama have a chance against Moore?
Not unless there were a political upset in a scale I can't quite remember, because this is the backdrop for the general election in November, a state that Donald Trump won by more than 30 points. So there is no senator right now representing a state. There is no Democratic senator representing a state that went for Trump by anything even remotely approaching the scale of this. So, you know, I think this was, we talked about this, there's a mayor's race in Washington, D.C. tonight with a Democratic primary. We've been saying, look, for all intents and purposes, the Democratic primary is going to decide who the next mayor is. A Republican primary in Alabama, for all intents and purposes, is deciding who the next senator is.
Yeah, historical context says it all. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much. That's going to
all right. Well, we did see an upset. As I finished saying that to Gotti, we did see an upset on a scale like that once in the last 10 years. It was in Alabama. You remember the Doug Jones winning in 2017, although the circumstances that propelled Doug, we don't need to enumerate them here, but I think you know those circumstances were extraordinarily unique. And then when Jones had to face the voters a couple years later for the full term, under different circumstances, he lost handily. So anyway, we wanted to talk about what's next before everybody. Next week, I'm going overseas. NBC Sports is sending me to England. I'm going to Royal Ascot. It's going to air on NBC this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You know, Royal Ascot, Windsor Castle, the King and Queen are there. So horse races are going on, but it's this incredible cultural event. I have to dress up in a top hat and tails for it. They give me this hat. They let me borrow it for the day. They are super paranoid when they give it to me. I can't figure out why. I asked somebody, why are they nuts about their hats over here? They said the hat costs $10,000. It's made of some kind of thing that doesn't exist anymore. They let me borrow it for the show. So tune in to see me wear the expensive hat. I hope I don't break it. And then I'll come back from that trip. And next Tuesday, New York primaries. Oh, my goodness, we got big ones in New York. In Maryland, too, we got a real interesting former member of Congress running to get his seat back against an incumbent in a Democratic primary. But New York, a bunch of House races, super, super interesting, compelling, competitive House races there in New York. Some are going to have ramifications for the general election. Others are core Democratic districts, but they're going to tell you something really interesting about the state of the Democratic Party. June 27th, we got that Louisiana runoff. We saw Bill Cassidy go down in the preliminary there. Who will win the runoff? We will do that. And then a bit of a break. July is going to be slow. Maybe you know the political calendar, but we will be back on August 4th in a huge and massive way, because look at that screen closely. You see a bunch of state abbreviations there. Look at MI. Michigan. That Michigan Democratic Senate primary. What an interesting race that is in the primary. What a potentially interesting race that is in the general election. And on August 4th, we're going to get to do Michigan. And I don't mean to slight Kansas, Missouri, Virginia, or Washington, but Michigan, man, we center stage that night. I am looking forward to August 4th. We got some more coming at you, too. So that is the schedule.
Take a House primary in Missouri as well.
What's that?
A good House primary in Missouri.
Thank you. Speak up for the other ones. I'm hyping Michigan. I'm a UP guy. I'm a
It'll be a
Uper.
fun night.
But
and also just a plug for a DC mayor race, which will eventually come in California. All the results will be on NBCnews.com, and you can stay tuned for that or any of these other races to the bitter end on the website.
still want to know what Shelby's going to do and what Jefferson's going to do. I wish we could
tune in to NBCnews.com later tonight, Steve, and you'll find out.
I'll probably be sleeping, but I hope. Okay. So thanks everybody. This was great, and I hope I can make it back safely, make it over safely. I'm scared of air travel, and I'll see you next. I hope I'll see you next time.